the meeting to order.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this special meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 25, 2017, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 25, 2017, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's Office on January 25, 2017. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting and between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows: upon exiting the meeting room, there to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Also, no food or beverages permitted in this room. Roll call: Mrs. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Nacastro?
Here.
Mayor Berger?
Present. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I think we'll begin with OEM. Gentlemen, please. You got it, thanks.
In the budget booklets, they start on page 112, and J sheet, J12.
112?
Yes, sir.
You good? You got the remote?
No.
I don't think it is. This is right? Or is it this? Should be one of these. I think it's that one. If not, just tell me when.
Good evening. I guess we'll get going on this. Just a quick synopsis as to what we do as OEM. So the mission of the Howell Township Office of Emergency Management is to protect the community by coordinating and integrating all activities necessary to mitigate hazards and prepare for, respond to, and recover from natural disasters, acts of terrorism, and other man-made disasters. The Office of Emergency Management has a responsibility to coordinate all township emergency response plans. Our responsibilities are to identify vulnerabilities, effectively mitigate disasters, respond to emergency situations, ensure continuity of government and business, and to facilitate an effective recovery. We coordinate with local, state, and federal agencies as well as private entities to develop, maintain, and to implement emergency operation plans. So for 2017, our proposed salaries and wages constitute 1 coordinator, 4 deputy coordinators, and 1 administrative assistant. totaling $18,250 worth of salaries. Just a quick note on that. Last year, the township was awarded the EMAA grant, which was utilized to offset a portion of the salaries. We actually did receive notice a couple days ago that the township will not be receiving that grant this year. The funding amount was significantly higher this year, so a lot more townships applied for it, so it was a lot more competitive, so we did not receive the award.
May I ask a question?
Please.
Laura, was this included in our budget? I was expecting the grant, or was it not included in the numbers?
The numbers were reflective of not receiving the grant.
So we, all right.
Correct.
So it's nothing that we didn't,
Yeah, just
Correct.
we did have it offset last year, a portion of it this year. We aren't expecting that.
We did apply.
We
Correct.
did apply, yes. It was a lot more competitive this year, so we didn't meet the criteria. So for our operating expense, we're proposing $23,500. These lines include uniforms, safety supplies, special expenses, hazardous materials, communication maintenance, books and publications, training and education, and cert class equipment. So a couple of increases in the budget as opposed to last year. The meals line went up by $500. This is to include public education promotional items, as well as a funding source to supply food and drinks at emergency scenes, as well as meetings. Additionally, the special expense line, hazardous materials, that went up $4,000. That was the biggest increase from the year prior. This was because we proposed this year to pay for the hazmat team members. That we proposed to pay for their required medicals. As they do operate under the umbrella of OEM, not specifically to their fire district, we're proposing to encumber that expense to alleviate that cost from the fire district as they're operating under us.
who paid for it before?
It was paid out of pocket by the members themselves. They were paying.
Members themselves paid it, not the fire districts?
I believe so.
Yeah, I
I
don't
believe it was
believe
a
they've done
personal
it
expense.
in 3 or 4 years. They haven't been active, the Southern Hazmat Response Team. In the last couple of years, haven't even been active. They're actually revamping it and restarting from ground zero.
Other items in this line include speedy dry, overpack drums, other hazardous materials response-related stuff. We don't stock that per se. We use it more of a reimbursement tool. So we do want to account for that to be able to get the stuff back to the responding agency if they aren't adequately reimbursed. Another additional increase is in the communication maintenance line. That went up $1,000 from 2016. As we're now paying for Howell First Aid's e-dispatch. And we're also, as we'll talk about in the Capitol, we're anticipating an expense to join the New Jersey State Police Talk Group. And I guess we'll move into that as our capital expense.
We're paying for Howell First Aids?
E-dispatch, which is the electronic dispatch as opposed to radio, so it takes the frequency and sends it to the application.
Why would we be paying for that? I'm just asking.
That was an expense that we negotiated with the first aid squad.
I'm looking at a document this year that they're expected to go up in revenue from the township to like $286,000.
Our goal is essentially in the future is to actually cover all first aid and first responding agencies under that e-dispatch, to bring it all under one account as to be a cost savings. So we have a good working relationship with Howell First Aid where we've agreed to maintain that, and not everyone is using e-dispatch right now. There's a couple other vendors that they're using. So the goal is to ultimately get everyone under one umbrella. That would be the most reasonable and cost-efficient way to do it.
But why would we be paying for a cost of someone that's getting $287,000? I'm asking an easy question.
We're trying to get everything under one umbrella. So it makes sense as a cost-saving perspective to everyone operate under one account. Right now, we have only one other agency under our account, and the goal is to get all fire districts under the account as well.
So if I could re-ask the question, I think it is, if they have $286,000, why aren't they paying for it?
Well, every other fire agency has their own operating budget as well. This is something that we, as OEM, as we organize communications between other agencies, we feel that it's within our responsibility to maintain that, maintain that.
Could you charge them to maintain it?
We could if that's the direction we so choose to go.
I have a question. The people that aren't participating at this point in time, what are they doing?
They're under other contracts, so I believe they're under 2 or 3 year contracts with their own vendors. There's a couple of vendors. I Am Responding, I know, is one of the other vendors that they use.
So this goes out to bid as would other, as most contracts do, they go out to bid. Is this a cost factor, and that's why they're with other people?
That was just the software that they so chose to utilize however many years ago.
So what is your goal? How long would it take to get everybody under one umbrella?
It's all going to depend on where their contracts lie. Each fire district is separate right now.
And are the fire districts asking you to do this?
We have been
Bring them
approached,
under?
yes. Yes, we have.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding that?
Continue.
I asked him to come up.
I hear you. All right, so we'll move on to our capital proposals. The first proposal, we're requesting 4 Moto Turbo Apex 8000 tri-band portable transceivers. And as I'm sure many are aware, the police department is transitioning to a new system, and we're trying to keep up with that transition. Again, as OEM, our responsibility is to coordinate all events. To us, it doesn't make much sense to not be able to even coordinate with our own police department during events. We can work through dispatch to relay information. It just seems like it's an unnecessary step as opposed to monitoring information in real time. We'd prefer to be able to hear them active on the radio. And it also gives us other options as well as coordinating mutual aid efforts with neighboring towns, the county. Right now, we wouldn't have the ability to coordinate any efforts on any other frequencies. So our goal is to have the most flexibility with our technology. Right now, what we're operating on offers us very little. We're also looking to transition the OEM frequency onto the channel that the police department is currently occupying once they make the move.
Mayor? Mayor?
Please.
With the transceivers that you presently have, what kind of response time do you feel that you have now that would be obviously empowered if, you could do more than 2 Motorola tri-bands?
It's not necessarily the response time we're looking at. We're looking at getting all the information in real time. So,
If I could, I'll just interject if you don't mind, Eric.
absolutely.
Basically, when we started, we don't have any radio communications. So
Okay.
between OEM, we have no radio communications. The police department was kind enough to give us a couple of their portables right now, so we can currently listen to them and interact with them. We do have a couple of mobile units in the vehicles that monitor DPW and everything. With this new radio system that the police department's going to, this would afford us the capabilities, the way it's set up, is so we could immediately talk to the supervisors and monitor everything that's going on with the police department. And then we would be able to take this same radio, and when we activate their old frequency that they've now no longer have, we can hand those radios out to our members, and we can communicate with our members what is actually going on in real time. So I think it's very beneficial that we get these items so we can communicate with everybody.
Certainly a safety issue, I would.
Safety issue
presume.
and of course, response time and response.
You're gonna get hit into the mic.
Obviously, the safety issue is paramount in this situation.
And communication, we all know that whenever there's problems in any situation, communication is usually the #1 priority that causes issues. This, we feel, would help and assist us with alleviating that.
Of course, I'll ask a silly question. Anytime any grant money ever comes up with this type of implementation on a newer program?
Grant money does come up, but not in this particular case that we have seen any. The fire departments did enter into a grant, and we attempted to get in with them Because
Right.
again, also radio communication with the fire departments, this doesn't solve that problem. And we were told that we were an entity that was not covered under it.
I see. Okay.
So would the e-dispatch have anything to do with this? Do they work in tandem?
This is just a way for us to communicate once we get the call. Basically, what the e-dispatch does is it sends, when we're dispatched, it sends us the call. And it sends Howell First Aid, their call for service. Each fire department, 3 of them, I believe, are on I am responding. I believe there's one on e-dispatch and another one's on something else.
The way I understand it is they're, so they can all talk to each other so they know what's going on.
And we would all get the same information,
Yeah,
the same
same
call
time.
and everything.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
On this.
No, I really don't have there has to be another way other than spending $30,000 on it. I mean, we have all these radios, we have money coming in from different areas. I have a hard time spending $30,000 on 4 tri-band portable transceivers.
Well,
I really do.
the current technology we have isn't capable of doing that. So the point of the tri-band is so you can operate on 3 different frequencies. So the current portables we have, I believe, only operate on 1.
155.
Yeah. So it gives the most interoperability. So we can operate on the county trunk system, we can operate on the state system, and we can also operate on our local frequencies. We could carry around 3 separate portables to have 3 separate frequencies, but again, you're looking at more money that way.
And we would also have to obtain these because nothing that we have nor the police department currently has will operate on that 700, 800, correct, Cap?
700.
You can go out to dinner with the chief and talk about using a few of his radios.
I don't believe they budgeted, that's why we have it in our capital.
Mr. Mayfield, what do you have to say about this when you sat down and went through it all?
I don't see any way around it. If we want OEM to have communication with the emergency response agencies that are involved in the different matters that come up in town.
And if I could just add something, this portable will be utilized as of now in the vehicles that we have, which don't have mobile units, which are, I believe, a lot more pricier than this. So we're going to take this radio and actually replace it with 2. Because our radios that we currently have in our OEM vehicles will not monitor the police frequencies.
You know, I'm clear on the fact that this would further communications with our local police department. My question is, what happens on a state level? Does this help you with
This
State
frequency
response?
is actually a state program. So the communication is a lot greater than our local channel, which can only really talk to Howell Township.
Thank you.
Have we already signed agreements with the first aids for 2017, Mr. Mayfield?
With regard to the e-dispatch you're talking about?
Yes, all different kinds of things. I see the payment to volunteer squads in 2015 was $182,000, $215,000 in 2016, and the estimated is $287,000 from 2017. Okay, is there any way we can limit that and use some of that to pay for some of these expenditures?
You would
Or
have
OEM?
You'd have to change the percentage of the EMS costs, billing costs that they receive in order to reduce that. Because
Okay.
that's already established by ordinance. That's the way that change could be implemented.
Okay, could you please brush that ordinance off and send over a copy of it for us to review?
Sure. No problem.
I'm sure I'll be getting phone calls. So I'd like to know what I'm looking at.
Did you want to continue?
Please. So our final capital proposal is the purchasing of a all-response utility truck. It is a Ford F-450 utility body internal storage. Our current fleet right now, Any equipment similar to what we're proposing is purchased in 1997 or older. So our equipment, our fleet is aging rapidly. The proposed purchase is, it'll include utility buys in the outside, external storage, as well as an enclosure, which, if designed properly, we can actually use as a mobile command post. It won't be the coziest of places, but it'll certainly be a lot cheaper than these mobile command posts that are rolling out, even at the county level. It's something that we feel is the most economically feasible purchase to still obtain what we need to do. It'll be used, right now we don't have any vehicles that can actually be stocked and ready to go. You know, you see the fire department or the first aid department when they roll out with their equipment, everything stocked, all they have to do is start the engine and go. Right now, a lot of our stuff would require having to go to the facility, stock up what we needed, and then drive over. So this is more of an all-response vehicle that we can just roll as soon as the call comes in.
Thinking about Stripes, that whole response vehicle they were driving. Sergeant Hulka.
If I could just add to that, the reason that we're requesting something like this is through the history of OEM, as I understand it and I can see from certain examples, is it started off as a response unit where they had a specific piece of equipment for each job responsibility that they did. So they had a dive team, they had all the dive equipment. They had a hazmat team, they had a hazmat truck. The reason that OEM is a resource and a coordination effort, and that's what we're trying to go to. So what we're trying to do is join the bridge back with the first aids, the fire departments, all the other outside agencies, the police departments, and supply them with the necessary equipment they use. Now, this vehicle not only would be the multifunctional vehicle, but it would be what we would call our first response vehicle. So we would hope to outfit it with everything that we possibly could need for a structure fire, for a smoke condition, for a hazmat spill, for a serious motor vehicle accident. So if anybody goes through their supplies or they don't have the supplies that they necessarily need at that time, our supplies are right there for them. In return, we would then be able to have manpower go and get all the extra necessary equipment that we have.
So the state has an OEM, right? We have,
The state has an OEM, the county has an OEM.
okay. So what are they putting in for grants this year?
I spoke with Mike, our open guard, just the other day, and I had asked him about a hazmat grant because we're now going to resurrect our hazmat team with the Southern Fire Department, and hopefully we're going to open it up to volunteers from each fire district to join that unit. So maybe members from Adelphia, Ramtown, Squonkam, and Freewood Acres would like to join it. They would be able to become a hazmat tech member under that to serve Howell Township. He told me that those grants for the hazmat would not come out until April or May.
Were they putting it in for anything special, though, for the state to distribute?
Not that he spoke with me about at the last coordinators meeting, which was last week. And the problem we have with that is if they do get equipment up there, it's split between 53 municipalities.
Any other questions?
Yeah. So obviously, you're asking for the one vehicle this year. What's the vision for next year in 2019, 20? What would be required to maintain the level of service that you'd like to provide?
Well, right now, that is what we would need, and then obviously we would take it from that point forward. Our other vehicles, I believe Eric has a list of it. We have a 2005 Dodge pickup that has 50-some thousand miles on it. That'll be sufficient for now, probably for the next couple of years, as long as the mechanics can keep it up and running at a cost-effective manner. We have another Excursion, so this would be basically just our response vehicle to fulfill the, to replace the 1998 utility truck that we have now that we currently and previously used for hazmat response.
So your best guess is that for 2 years, you think that this
For
would
two-
suffice?
Yes, that's why it would be put into this. I believe this is the MCIA year.
Hopefully be more than 2 years.
Well, if we can handle the worst, the best is great.
Well,
Yeah.
the vehicle has
Okay.
50-some thousand
Yeah.
miles on it,
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
not half used yet.
Right, but that's just a pickup truck. That doesn't have the capabilities of what we
Right.
need it to be utilized for at this point. That's why we're requesting.
Oh,
this.
I get that.
Yeah.
It should-
I was just curious, what
It's
are
a
we looking
vehi-
at?
My point is, it's a vehicle used, and
Yes.
with 50-some thousand miles on it, shouldn't have to be replaced for what it's used for quite a few years.
Hopefully, it'll last 200,000.
I just have a little question here for you, Lou. I'm looking back at some old capital reports from 2011, 2013, 2015, and there was money that we approved back then that hadn't been used yet. This stuff hasn't been bonded for what we haven't used, correct?
Correct. Historically, we've only borrowed up to the point where we spent the money. We've never pre-funded for anything unless we have awarded a contract for the purchase. But if we haven't purchased it by the time that we went to funding, then we wouldn't have funded it until the following year. So it's very safe to say that any balances here that exist have not been funded.
Have we bonded for any money that we haven't used yet that's sitting in an account right now that we may be able to transfer and use it for something different? You don't have to tell me now.
I can
But you
absolutely
can
look
run
into
next-
that for you. Absolutely.
Would you please?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, we have some money sitting in some accounts, like I'm looking at some stuff here that was approved in 2011 that hasn't been used, and I understand you haven't bonded for it yet. As an example, GPS was approved for 160,000, only 50,000 of it was used. There's still $109,000 balance. Well, that GPS is outdated already, that was approved in 2011.
Sure.
And part of what gets me is when, no reflection on you gentlemen, but when people say something's needed, and it's a necessity, and 5 years later, we still haven't spent the money, there's something wrong with that necessity. Their degree of necessity at that time, and the taxpayers' need of, or their interpretation of necessity are a little bit different. 5 years later, money's not spent, so, and I see a lot of things like that. So, please let me know. I really would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Mr. Walsh, I think you're going to see as we go through a couple of the other departments, that some of that old capital, we eliminated some of the requests for this year for exactly that reason, and we already started moving the ones that we can, because some of them were restricted based on the wording of the money that we borrow. But we've been going over that for the last year at least, exactly what you're talking about. We made major changes in some of the budget submissions for this year as a result of that exact problem.
Well, I know we've spoken about it, but, and again, it's no reflection on, but every time everyone's come before me in the last 12 years, they've always told me it was a necessity. It was needed now or yesterday. Then you find millions of dollars that isn't spent for years and years. So,
If you approve it, I know I will get it and I will use it.
and I believe you.
Thank you.
I believe you, okay? And that's why I'm trying to fish for, is there some money in some accounts that we already bonded that's sitting there that we could switch to use to buy some of this capital you'd like for the OEM?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I'm fishing for. Is there money already there? Or if not, let's get some of this old stuff off the books and talk about what's realistic, and then we'll have more of a feel for what our capital expenditures will be when they're spent. I mean, there's a couple $1 million here, it works against us, because that's part of what we have allotted to borrow, and we haven't yet. So, Lou, please do what you can there, okay? I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
And I would like to add too that it doesn't necessarily mean if for the project to be funded per se, if there was an unfunded capital item that was sitting on our capital books, the spending authority and the borrowing authority is there. If that gets canceled, that comes off the books, and then if another project wanted to be pursued, you would add that new piece on in its place.
I
But
understand,
will-
that's why I asked
But
you
I
for
will
these
review
reports.
both, absolutely.
Okay, that's why about a month ago I asked, would you please give me the reports of what was asked for as a necessity? And hasn't been spent for 5, 6, 7 years. So, I'm good.
Are we good?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Chief, you're up.
Excuse me?
Going in the calendar.
He hasn't said.
What page is it, Lou?
The J is 24. I have that.
What are we looking at?
Go up by yourself?
On the appropriation sheet, on the J sheets, they're J10. And in your budget booklet documents, the police department begins on page 80. 80.
80? No, I'm not giving you this. It's your own.
Thank you.
It's your own.
I could move on.
Thank you.
Share.
That's staggering.
Whenever you're ready.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I brought with me some backup, some of my personnel. For those of you that are not aware of who's sitting behind me, I'm going to have them stand up when I introduce them. Operations Captain Mark Pilecki. So Captain Pilecki obviously runs the patrol division. He also oversees communications. Services Captain John Starro. Under services is the two big units within services is EMS and training. Those are some of the larger ticket items on my budget. There's other divisions, other units underneath them. I gave you a spreadsheet, which I can go over in a little bit. So after services, Captain Starro comes administrative investigations, Captain Tom Rizzo. I was recently promoted to captain, and I thank you for that. So under him is the CSU guys, the street crimes unit, the 5 officers that are assigned to him. Services Lieutenant Bernard Fowler.
Hi.
His primary responsibilities are training and EMS. Patrol Sergeant Paul Mazzio. So Patrol Sergeant Mazzio, his background is really in OEM. He's on New Jersey Task Force 1, and he's going to talk about one of my capital projects. Patrolman Dave Levine. Patrolman Dave Levine is my most recently assigned officer to the Traffic Safety Bureau, and he'll be talking about the larger ticket item vehicles and give you the status of our fleet. After Dave comes Communications Supervisor Steve Garrity. Obviously, everyone's familiar with Steve, most important man in the police department right there. And then finally is EMS Coordinator Peggy Doyle, who oversees our EMS unit. So good evening. I'm proud to be sitting before you representing the police department and going over my 2017 budget, which also includes 911 communications and our EMS unit. So basically 3 businesses in one. I gave each of you a packet, and I would like to just touch upon some highlights of my budget and over the past year before we dive into my budget. Let's talk about overtime. 2015, I became chief July 1st. As of July 1st, in my police department, we had $600,000 in overtime for the first 6 months of 2015. Came in as chief. I did a little bit of control mechanisms, developed a policy. We were basically trending at $1.2 million a year for our overtime rate, which was absolutely staggering for a police department our size. So with some policy change, we brought that in around, I believe, just over 900,000. 750. So 750. So I went for, that was 2015? No, it was just over 900,000. So it was about $285,000 than what was projected. So $1.2 million projected overtime budget in 2015. I was pretty optimistic. Last year, budgeted $750,000. We were right, and we were right there. As a result of those, my personnel, the union, they all came together when we made it work within our agency. I would have been significantly less than that if I had not doubled up my officers throughout the summer with the recent threats to the police officers being ambushed and killed throughout the United States. I had some overtime because of the control mechanisms that we put in place. I was able to double up my officers throughout the entire summer, which worked out perfectly. We did not continue to do so. Officers were getting burnt out. When officers get burnt out, they tend to let their guard down. They didn't want to do that anymore, and it was almost becoming a detriment to my personnel, keeping that double patrol on midnights. Officers were being forced over on a regular basis. So we instituted a few other policies within our police department, security measures, in order to enhance the safety of our officers. So that was just an overview of the overtime control mechanisms that we put in place, myself and my administration and the union put in place over the past 20 months of my tenure as chief. This year in the 2017 budget, we went even less with our overtime, from $750,000 down to $680,000. And that's a result of, thanks to you, with adding additional officers to our ranks. I was able to backfill a lot of those positions in the patrol division, thereby reducing that overtime rate. So the numbers increased in a patrol, which now an officer, we're not at minimum every single day. So now an officer, when he calls out sick, it doesn't have to be immediately replaced. There's actually a buffer there now.
See, just so you know, it says 580 here in this document.
That's still a working document. His number has been adjusted up to 680,000 for overtime this year. Correct.
I'm okay with the number, but I appreciate if you let us know.
Absolutely.
Actually, my most recent one has 680 on it.
Correct.
Yeah. So actually, I projected 580, but I believe that was a little bit too progressive on my part.
Progressive?
So I got bumped up to 680. I'm going to try to get that 580. I'm going to try to get there. Some officers are coming off of FTO programs. Some recently hired officers that had to go through a 3-month FTO program. They're slowly being released back onto the squads.
What is FTO?
Field training.
Thank you.
So our officers, our brand new officers, are assigned to a field training program for 3 months once they come to our agency or get released from graduate from the academy. So they spend 3 months at a minimum with a field training officer. They do not count as manpower. So we may have 10 officers working a road, but only 8 are basically solo officers who 2 of the officers have partners with them that are training. They do not count towards manpower until they get released from their FTO program.
Okay.
So it's a minimum of 3 months. So some of those officers right now are being cut loose, some are being shadowed, and some are being assigned to squads. So we're looking good so far for 2017. I just had to move some personnel around. Obviously, you know, in this town, we're very lucky with a very low crime rate, and that is a compliment to both our citizens who are actively involved with our town and also my officers who are very proactive out there addressing the complaints and addressing any types of issues. But we still have people dying. We have people dying from car wrecks. We have people dying from heroin overdoses, from drug overdoses. From 2015 through 2016, we had the same amount, basically the same amount, less than 1% difference of car crashes. We had double the amount of fatalities last year. We had 10 people die in our town from traffic accidents, whereas a year before that we had 5. 2 of those accidents resulted in double fatalities. Both of them had alcohol, and both of them were as a result of speed. So we have to do a better job at addressing our traffic safety issues. I made it a priority of my officers at my last department meeting. There's another one next month, whereas basically they're all going to be traffic officers. So we developed some policies and stressed to my supervisors that basically those officers need to address the traffic issues a little more proactively than they normally do. We hired Class 2s. Class 2s are going to be added to our ranks within our patrol division. They are going to support the patrol officers. They cannot supplant them. So they cannot be counted towards manpower. There's actually a law that prohibits me from doing so. We actually had some positive communications with the union. They were actually open to the idea of having these specials replace them as long as they agreed to it, but they took a vote and they decided that they did not want to go that route. But there was some positive
Chief.
talk about that.
Chief, was that in reference to the question we had asked Mr. Mayfield about maybe having specials ride at night when the police were getting burned out from doing overtime at night? When we asked the specials could drive in the car with...
So they can.
officers?
So the officer, the SLEO 2s can support the police patrols out there. So if my minimum on a road is 8, say on the evening squad, I can assign 2 or 3 specials out there and bring my ranks up to 11. However, if my minimum is 8 and somebody calls out, I cannot replace that call out with a Class 2. So they're only there to support the officers. Can they be doubled up? Absolutely, and there are intentions to do that. In fact, we have 5 right now in our field training program. So right now, if you see some officers doubled up, it's because those SLEO 2s are being put through the same field training program as a regular police officer would. So there is an extra, and all of them are experienced officers anyhow. So all of them have that, they're bringing that extra level of security to those officers that are riding solo patrol. So it's dual function. We can do that. We can double up, say, same type of situation happens as it did last summer, where I decided to double up the officers. I can replace those doubled officers with SLEO 2s. I can do that.
And we were, the governing body, when the manager brought it to our attention, we were fully supportive of it.
Right.
We want our officers to be safe, especially at
Absolutely.
night.
Absolutely. You also have to be aware of the recently passed, as of January 1st, the bail reform. Voters voted on that under a different model, so to say, when they went to the polls and approved it. Basically, it came out now that there's a lot of people being released from custody that would and should have been put in jail. It takes probably twice as long now. Now they're telling us, our prosecutor's office, and their hands are tied, we have to wait 2 hours before we get a response back. It's called a public safety assessment. Anytime we arrest somebody and charge them, we have to run them through what's called a PSA, a public safety assessment, through the state. That could take up to 2 hours. So I would say a normal under 50 disorderly person's marijuana charge, which would take less than an hour to process somebody in our facility. Now they're telling us we have to wait a minimum of 2 hours before that comes back, and then the officer then can proceed in with all the processing. So that's where our specials come in, to get that police officer back out on the road as quickly as possible. Now we're having our SLEO 2s work our jail cells once they get released from training to take that officer now and put him back on the road as quickly as possible while that Class 2 processes that prisoner. So that's the reason why I believe Manager Mayfield put my numbers up for the overtime. I believe there's several counties within the state now that are appealing this bail reform because the amount of money it's costing municipalities, the amount of money it's costing in overtime to process a prisoner and to have officers appear court on the weekends. Obviously, contractual obligations. If an officer is off, that's 4 hours of overtime minimum right there. So I believe that's one reason why the manager increased that. Back in September, when I prepared this and I had that lower number, $100,000 lower, the impact of bail reform wasn't known at that time. January 1st, it really hit us. And that's a statewide problem right now. It's just not local. It's across the state. So that's basically the insight of what's going on with our personnel. I just want to talk about retirees. Last year in 2016, we had 6 officers that retired, obviously all either command level or a patrol officer at top tier pay. In 2016, we lost 6, we gained 8, which I thank you for that. Current score now, we're at 86. And if you look at our organizational chart, I apologize for the font. However, due to the size of all the divisions and the amount of blocks, that's the amount of space that the program would allow you to do. So if you look at all the different divisions, it's broken down by 3 different divisions. The responsibilities and basically our units are within each of those responsibilities. You don't realize how much we basically do within the police department until you start doing it on paper and you see the intricacies of what's involved in the job. A lot of it's administrative. As you're aware, there's a lot more that's asked upon the police officers nowadays. It's not just their traditional role of answering calls and investigations. Now, obviously, we are expected and we happily oblige to get involved in recovery efforts for drug addiction and also mental health. Last year, our police department was one of the first to basically be trained, all of our officers, in mental health screening. We got that training for free. A lot of training that we do is basically almost like a reciprocate. We provide training for other agencies free of cost. We then get that training back from other agencies free as well. So if it wasn't for that basically a relationship that Lieutenant Fowler has established throughout the state, our training budget would be significantly higher. We have our own trainers on staff that are able to train our police officers. At the highest level, we train other police departments as well. So obviously it takes a lot more manpower in order to train 160 plus employees that we have in our police department, because we have also the part-time EMTs as well. And they're incorporated into our training because they are actively involved there with us at scenes, obviously emergency service scenes. So then you start diving into all the accreditation, the internal affairs, all the other things, the firearms. We all know what happened with the last election. Every time there was anything mentioned about firearms and the NRA and the Second Amendment, we got flooded with handgun requests. So we had to put extra personnel within our records division to handle that, and that worked out very smoothly. We had unfortunately, we had one of our records clerk leave. There was no redundancy, no training involving my other personnel that were in that division, and we were left in quite a situation. But fortunately, we had a couple people step up and fill in that gap. So it's challenging. It's challenging with again, I thank you for the increase in staff. I asked for additional officers, and like I said, I moved an officer into our traffic unit. We used to have a 4 or 5 man traffic unit. We were down to 1. I pulled a patrol officer in order to assist the 1 traffic officer, so now we're up to 2. We have 5 officers in our street crimes battling the drug problems. So, like I told you just a few minutes ago, that's the problems that we're having in town here. People are dying from drug overdoses. People are dying from traffic fatalities. So that's the reason why I increased 1 officer in CSU and 1 officer in traffic. So I'm asking for, I was asking for 3 officers to replace the 2 that I pulled out of patrol to handle those responsibilities, but I can get to that a little bit later. If you look, I also provided you on that budget hearing highlights the status of our police department dating back to 2009 when we were at the highest level of officers. I understand that personnel costs money. I understand that. Hopefully I'm able to justify adding to my ranks, but you can see how we're slowly building back up, back to nearly our 2009 levels, which is my ultimate goal over the next 5 years. And the other big expense is fleet. Last year, I requested $400,000 for vehicles. The final amount appropriated was $200,000, half the amount of patrol cars I was able to obtain, and we lost several vehicles because of accidents, where the officers were not at fault. So our vehicles are hurting as well. This year, I requested the same as last year, despite only receiving half last year. So that's where I'm at right now as far as the highlights. If you would like to talk about anything as far as my personnel requests, allocation of where those officers would go, I'd be more than happy to talk about that.
Mayor?
Please.
Chief, you said you're asking for 3 additional hires?
I am, ma'am.
Please, call me Evelyn. Please. At this point in time, who's doing the work that, how's that being handled in-house?
As far as,
Well,
I'll start with training.
okay,
Training is very expensive. Obviously, if I send my officers to command level training, probably a week-long class costs about $1,000. We've never had that in the past. We've never had officers being sent to the same schools consistently, so we're all on the same page. It was basically, you go to this school, you go to this school, sometimes the school's conflicted. I'm trying to get my staff trained up. We're doing that in-house as well. We're developing our own in-house training program as well, but I need that professional development for my officers. So my training budget, my training requests are a little bit higher than last year. That's one reason for that. But fortunately, we have department trainers. We send several officers to training certification courses every year. We have trainer-trainer courses where those trainers then train additional personnel within our police department who are then able to train additional officers. So basically, we run almost a quasi-police academy within our agency. We have a very extensive field training program. Our firearms program, we have officers trained just basic handgun all the way to advanced service rifles. So we don't have to send them, and that's where the big bucks comes in. So we're able to do that and save a significant amount of money in-house. Now, part of sending those officers, those command level officers to advanced training is to reduce some of the responsibilities that are on them. For instance, I have a patrol lieutenant who's in charge of a squad of 19. Now, his sole responsibility is to maintain a quality of that squad, having overtime in mind, training the officers, reviewing the reports, handling any type of internal affairs complaint, ensuring the professionalism of our agency is met on his squad. That same lieutenant now was in charge of our entire fleet, outfitting all of our patrol cars. So we were able to save a significant amount of money by having a police officer do that, but it was affecting the supervision on the squad. So what I did was, I assigned Officer Levine, let that lieutenant basically handle his police department, which is, on his squad, is probably larger than most New Jersey police departments, with 19 police officers and 2 sergeants. And I have a patrol officer who was very capable of doing the same thing. So now I keep that lieutenant up there doing his job, ensuring the quality of that squad is met. And I'm taking a patrol officer and backfilling all his responsibilities, putting him in traffic. He's able to review traffic studies, planning board, anything that may come down from the planning board, any type of citizen complaints that come to the mayor's email or ask the mayor, anything that comes in internally where they have to review it. So now he's doing that. Basically, it's an administrative traffic sergeant position, and I don't have a lieutenant basically doing dual duties. Communications supervisor Steve Garrity back there, he is the dispatch supervisor as well as the IT supervisor. He's doing dual roles. And I'm not taking anything away from Town Hall here, but they have 2 people doing IT work here full-time. I don't have anybody. I have 1 person doing it. Basically, I have half of his responsibilities. So we definitely embrace doing more with less, but you have to be very careful on that, especially with the police department, where you don't want to lose that quality of the supervision or the quality of that officer because he's tied up doing other tasks that basically should be left for somebody else to do as a full-time position. So, did I answer your question? Did I go long-winded?
No, I understand the domino effect, it's well spoken. Is there at any time that you ever feel that other than a professional police officer, there's, for instance, the fleet, could it be done by a civilian?
Yes, ma'am. I requested a civilian, two two civilian positions, I believe.
Where's the two?
Is it still in there, or is it just one now?
He was under the part-time and went down to the one.
Okay, so we initially spoke about having two part-timers in there. There were some conversations about maybe having one full-timer in there. I understand the health benefits out of it. I said if I could just get at least a part-timer in there to free up the workload, and that's been included in my budget. And it's basically going to be a police administrative assistant that is able to come in and take some of the workload off some of these patrol officers. That way their focus can be more on the road, or basically freeing them up to do other tasks that a police officer should be doing that we just can't really get done.
So that one specific example, fleet, is there anything else that you think a civilian could do?
Yes. I also proposed a civilian to handle a lot of our basically discovery requests. So we have attorneys, we have the prosecutor's office, we have other entities requesting either body camera footage, or mobile camera footage. So we have to have a police officer sit there and review, it could be 2 hours worth of video to be able to redact what needs to be taken out, or to let us know, hey, is there an issue here that we need to address here as far as policy compliance. So instead of having an officer at top pay, or even at starting pay, doing that where it could be a civilian, yes, I have. That's why I proposed that as a part-time wages in my budget. I believe it was $45,000.
And presuming that that could occur, you still think 3 hires, uniform hires would be required?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, 3 hires wasn't in your budget. I saw 1 hire.
That's correct.
I initially proposed 3.
Put in our budget right now. How much are we allocating for a new hiree? That if the chief had what are we looking about, 80, 90,000 of a new hiree?
That would include benefits, yes.
Did you want to continue with the rest of the budget?
Sure. Would you like to talk about vehicles? Because I know personnel and vehicles are my 2 biggest expenses.
Okay.
I believe that's in capital.
We won't go back and forth this time. Remember, the mayor wanted to pay him in the general fund each year. There's just no way. There's no way to do it. Too many vehicles.
So like I addressed previously, last year I requested $400,000 for vehicles. The final amount that I was given was $200,000, which comes out to half the amount of vehicles that I requested. Those vehicles are now getting in service now. We just got them back from paint, so you see how long it takes from the time that we get the vehicles approved until they're actually on the road. They probably won't be on the road for at least another 6 weeks.
It takes a year?
Yeah.
You'll find out that everything in government takes
They don't go to the lot down the street, they're driving it the following week.
So the delivery takes obviously quite some time. Then once we get the vehicles delivered, then they have to be upfitted, which they have to go to several different vendors to get the emergency equipment in, to get painted, to get the decals on. There's other enhancements that we have now that are being added to the vehicle to increase the safety of the police officers. So it has to also go there as well. So during the course of last year, and I'll have Patrolman Levine come up and assist me on this, he did a very thorough review of our vehicles, and if you see, he provided me a very detailed list, basically an audit of our fleet. Our patrol fleet, we're in decent shape. We've been keeping up with it over the years. Adding a minimum of 5 cars each year does help. These vehicles, on an average, we've also been rotating the vehicles well. That way, just the new vehicles aren't being used. That way, obviously, they're going to last a lot longer. So we put a whole rotational system into play as well to get the most out of all the vehicles. But we're using vehicles on the road that have excess of 100,000 miles. A lot of the police standards say the vehicle should be replaced after 70,000 miles. I don't agree with that, but once you start getting over 100,000, because our vehicles are very well maintained by our DPW. In fact, 2 of them unexpectedly got removed out of our fleet. 2 undercover Dodge Chargers just got pulled from our fleet last month because the body was basically, the frame was about to rust away. And that was we weren't expecting that. The vehicles basically had low mileage on them. They were being used by our street crimes officers to do their targeted enforcement, and now that got pulled from us. So as a result, just to show you just a little bit of commitment on my end, I'm going into my law enforcement trust fund and I'm buying them a vehicle for them to use. That way, I don't have to wait, obviously, a year to, if it's approved, to buy another vehicle. So I'm diving right into my trust fund in order to buy them a vehicle. That way they can use it almost immediately. So that's just a commitment to you that I'm showing them. That's going to cost me around $35,000 out of my trust fund. It's a significant amount of money out of my trust fund in order to give them a vehicle. So I would ask that those vehicles be approved on my end. They're all going back into patrol. The ones that have higher mileage are now being given to the detectives. You'll see some of the detective vehicles. What's the oldest one that we're using?
2003.
Is it 2003?
That's a good year.
14 years old. A lot of them are in tough shape. I did not include all the pictures that Patrolman Levine took. I have those if you would like to see them. They're in tough shape. I wouldn't even expect you to use those in any department in this town.
How many vehicles you looking for?
10, sir.
10. Okay.
7 sounds like a good number to me.
What?
7 sounds like a good compromise.
I'm actually asking for 12.
I guess it's going to go down to 5 then.
Chief Kudrick, I believe as part of some of our discussions with the manager, you did propose seven new vehicles and 3 to make 10. The 3 were to replace the vehicles that were out of commission due to the accident.
Right. So, thanks. I appreciate that.
Well-
So I've lost 3 vehicles in crashes in 2016, all not at the fault of the officer.
Even if it was, it's the way it is.
Right. I just lost another 2 vehicles unexpectedly. So I'm down 5 vehicles. So if Ms. Smith with the 7, I'm only going to gain basically two vehicles to my fleet.
Mr. Smith's being very generous this evening.
Lou, were we fully compensated with the 3 we lost to insurance?
We did receive insurance money back from that. I can definitely look back and find out how much of those reimbursement proceeds covered the cost. We did receive payment, and I can verify the amount of those payments for you.
Do you recall the age of those vehicles that we lost, approximately?
2011 Caprice.
Chevy
A
Caprice, my
2012
first car.
Chevy.
So 2011 Caprice,
Mm-hmm.
2015 Chevy,
2012 Chevy.
2012 Chevy.
I'm not sure what the last one was. Do you remember what the car number was?
They weren't built like those 2003s, Chief.
They weren't built like the 1990 ones.
Might have been 2015.
Had a 66 Caprice Classic, my first car.
Might have been
Fond memories.
21.
Was it an Explorer that wasn't an Explorer that was lost? Did we lose an Explorer? Cap, did we lose an
21.
What did we lose? We lost,
Lost Crown Vic, and I believe 1 Explorer.
And a Chevy.
and then a Chevy. Right. So the Explorer was probably a 2013 or 2014. And yes, they were getting to the point where they were going to be removed from the patrol, but those would have been then turned over to Detective Bureau to use.
Right.
So right now, our Detective Bureaus, they're basically sharing cars. It's at the point where it's tough right now. Guys are sharing cars. There's certain divisions where I say, I don't want to expose too much with the public, but with CSU, the undercover guys, they are making arrangements to have vehicles loaned to them from other businesses and.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was looking at the budget, there was a line item for specialized expenses. Could you explain that?
Sure. So there's certain, and I'll get to the actual, it's actually itemized. So under specialized expenses, our employee scheduling and payroll software, that runs about $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month for the scheduling and payroll software. That's tied into basically our town hall here.
Or would that be on your budget, Chief, or wouldn't that be on administration's budget?
They
Not
have,
yours?
town hall runs a different payroll system, different software here.
Mr. Mayfield, what are we doing on different payroll systems, different departments in Howell Township?
The system that the police department uses was one of the first companies that came forward with that when we were looking to computerize the attendance and payroll systems. And then it's called the POS system. That's been around for a while, again, been used in the public safety sector, but it wasn't really used in the general workforce sector. The rest of the town went to Prime Point, and it is my intention in the future, and I've spoken to Chief Kudrick about this already, I'd like to get the whole town onto the Prime Point, now that the Prime Point has caught up, and in some, I'm being told that it surpassed the quality of POS.
So what is the holdup with simple procedures like that? And owning a company, to me, that'd be a simple procedure, to put every department in the same payroll system. What is the holdup with that?
Just haven't gotten to that yet.
So also under the specialized expenses is our online training, which is a policy and training program that we use within the police department. That's how all the policies get out. They can be reviewed by any of the officers. They can pull them up on their phones. A lot of the online courses that the officers are mandated to take is on that program as well. Accreditation management, we're about to go through state certification, basically recognizing our police department as being meeting the state standards of an accredited agency. There is employee accountability program. It's called Guardian Tracking, which is basically where we put a lot of our internal affairs files into. Also recognition also for the awards. So, for instance, if Officer Levine here is working on the evening squad, and then he happens to change to midnight squad, that midnight supervisor may not know what went on in the evening squad, and that way it's all within a centralized system. The supervisor can go right in and say, okay, he went to such and such training here, he received a commendation for this, and it'll be used towards evaluations, which is part of the accreditation program. Body-worn camera software, redaction and retention, obviously that's important. Exposure control plan review, bloodborne pathogen training for 150 officers and EMTs, decontamination for blood, bodily waste, and vomit around headquarters inside patrol cars, funds for narcotics buys, petty cash accounts for tolls, supplies, food for prisoners, speed monitoring software for those radar stations that you see around the police, around you see on poles where it says your speed limit. There's software that goes with that. Random drug screening for the police officers. Pen test security, cyber security, that is basically testing our vulnerabilities within our police department to make sure they can't be penetrated. In fact, our website got hacked a few years ago, and it was actually very embarrassing to our agency.
I imagine so.
The one thing I do want to talk about, which is in here, and I'm glad that you brought this up, Mayor, was building modifications and enhancements. I have $10,000 in my specialized expenses, and when I brought you on that tour, I showed you how the sad shape that our police department basically is in. Our kitchen is the same kitchen that basically, it really is, it's a kitchen for an RV that was put in our police department back in 1990 with the electric stove. You open up the door handle and the door of the oven falls off. I have some pictures here that I took around police headquarters just to show you, if you can just pass this around to them, showing some of the condition of our police department. We have, and you'll see, I was going to line them all up in our training room, and if it wasn't for donations of our officers and some furniture suppliers from around town, we basically wouldn't have any of that. Even though it doesn't really look nice, I mean, it does get the job done now, but a lot of the chairs are ripped, stained. They're all different colors. It's just a mishmash of furniture that we have within our police department. So part of the police officers are actually sitting at the combination chair, swivel,
I saw that.
wooden swivel that comes down, that's pictures in there. They actually sit in those chairs at briefing. Obviously, they're the big guys and women with all the equipment on. It's very difficult for them to sit in those chairs. I don't know whose idea that was. It's horrible. But I would like to replace all the chairs within headquarters, and I also would like to upgrade our lunchroom. Nobody has anywhere to eat. It's actually, if you look at our cafeteria, it's disgusting. And it's not because of the cleanliness of it, it's just that it's just old. The building was built in 1990. There's been 0 upgrades to our building. We have received nothing new in our police department, including any types of chairs. Most of us have bought our own chairs for our desks. You'll see some of the mats that are in our police department all ripped and worn away. It's disgusting. It's actually embarrassing when you bring the public in and they have to sit at a little desk like that or at a chair that's stained from who knows what. So it's just some upgrades that we want to do in our police department. Very long overdue. 10,000 I don't think is too much. I think we can make it do with that and absolutely enhance the interior of our police department. Thankfully, Public Works was just in last week. They have an architect coming in. Our showers are our bathroom is horrendous. It actually leaks into my office. But I don't know if it's actually leaking or if they're actually pouring it, into my office. But, they're actually going to be ripping out our locker room within the next few months. So I thank Jim Herman and his staff and George for getting that done, because that's long overdue as well. So that's under specialized expenses. So and there's anything that may come up that we may need within the police department would fall under specialized expenses. That does fit into any other categories.
That's a broad range.
It is.
We need new cars, new bathrooms, new kitchens, and new chairs.
You know what it is? It's been neglected for so long. Now it's gotten to the point that it's the chairs are falling apart. And like I said, guys are bringing in their own stuff to use. And plus, a lot of us are spending our own money just to buy bleach for the bathrooms. So.
Do you have any questions? Do you have anything? Good. Did you go over everything, Chief?
There are so many, different areas within my budget, but I went over the major expenses.
Okay.
Would you like to talk about capital?
Sure.
Okay. Obviously, the police cars were part of capital. Is security enhancements still in there? I don't know what it's in there. Okay. So on one of my proposals, you'll see in security enhancements and upgrades to the public safety building. I can provide, if you would like to come in, Mayor, I already gave you a partial tour of the much-needed security enhancements that are needed around our police department. It's it's not 1990 anymore. Obviously, it's a different type of environment nowadays. There needs to be different control points within our police department. Right now, we have severe vulnerabilities within our police department that I need to address as quickly as possible.
Have you done it, or have you had somebody come in and assess it?
We can do it. We have officers that are trained to do
Okay.
security assessments. So we've done that, plus also we've had a company come in that's currently upgrading our closed circuit television and our access the cards to the building. So they gave us some recommendations as well, but it's a lot of it's common sense stuff that we need within our department. So I'll be happy to, if any of you want to come into the police department, I'll give you a tour of the department. I'll show you what I'm talking about, and you'll quickly realize that it needs to be addressed.
I would like to do that.
Okay. So that's part of the security enhancements. Another larger ticket item, which I gave you, and I'm going to call up. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. And I'm going to call up Sergeant Paul Mazzio to discuss a vehicle which I like to purchase on our capital. You'll see more and more police departments starting to transition over to an ESU type of utility vehicle. Toms River is our closest department that currently has a few deployed on the street every day. If you look on it, it says emergency services vehicle, and I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Mazzio just to give you a brief overview of the purpose of this vehicle, the cost behind it, and then I'll get into some of what we can do to alleviate the cost on it.
Good evening. Excuse my voice, I'm fighting a sinus infection myself. Basically, the purpose of the vehicle, police department, we train a lot with responding to active threats. We currently have no vehicle to basically carry all the equipment that we train with, and we have acquired over the years. The purpose of this vehicle is basically that so the police department kind of has almost like a rolling toolbox. So when we get to an emergency scene, we can take this vehicle right to the hot zone and deploy our specialized equipment from this vehicle and basically handle what's going on inside the building or area. Additionally, it's not just about always responding to critical threats. We respond to all kinds of incidents, as all of you know up here. A lot of stuff, but Chief Cooter had mentioned traffic accidents. A lot of those accidents happen at night when our investigators are out there with limited lighting and so forth. This vehicle is also designed to support their operations in the investigations. It's going to have scene lighting not only all around the vehicle, but it'll also have a light tower. So it'll be a lot safer for the officers operating in the highways or the roadways because the area will be illuminated. We're not just going to rely on the traffic safety vest and the handheld flashlight when we're out in the roadway. So it'll give, obviously the drivers the ability to see us. And also with crime scene investigations, there are times at night we get calls and we're searching for evidence or even missing people. We have no unit that we can have a light tower up like at night to illuminate the area so we can see what we're doing. We basically operate with just the lights on the vehicle, meaning the headlights, some auxiliary light that's on the vehicle, the patrol car that is, and just our handheld flashlights. And looking at this vehicle that we were talking about, the spec you have in front of you is from a company called First Priority. I have a whole book here from different vendors. Talked to the chief in depth with the vendor. I believe you can buy through HGAC. Howell Township's a part of that. He seems to be the cheapest price under the HGAC to get a vehicle like this. The vehicle is a Ford F550. The reason for the 550 is the 550 pulls extra weight. And when you load up a vehicle like this with the compartments, if you look at the photos that I provided for the concept of the vehicle, it gets to be a little bit heavy. It also has a steel bumper on the front of it with a winch for some added protection. And use the winch again for, we can use that in other applications of not only police but rescue applications as well. But the key thing with this vehicle is that when the chassis is no longer good, the body can be unbolted and then we can just re-chassis the vehicle. So this is a vehicle that can be around the Howell Township for years to come. Speaking with the vendor, he has told me that he's had vehicles at least re-chassis 4 to 5 times. So it holds up. It's all galvanized steel. It's a heavy-duty construction vehicle. So it's something that,
What's the
will-
cost?
Right now, as the vehicle sits, we're at the ballpark of $165,000.
Just to give you equivalent, our last ambulance that we ordered was $190,000 for an ambulance. And the reason why we went to type 1 ambulances, which is a larger ambulance rather than the standard van style that we used to use, was for the purposes that he spoke about. So it's actually cheaper in the long run to go with that upfront cost because you're able to re-chassis the vehicle. You can take the back box off, put it back on a new chassis. So you're
And what would
actually
that
saving money.
cost?
Half the amount of money.
About 80,000.
Yeah.
From estimates we've gotten before, about 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we got away from the vans when I first took over the EMS unit. The vans were only lasting us a few years. They weren't meant for that interagency they're only meant for that interagency transport, not as a first responder vehicle handling, obviously, emergencies where you're working in the back of it with paramedics. So we went with a larger style. The council was right on board with it. You're going to spend money up front, but in the long run, you're getting a better return on your investment with that truck. So we have 2 in service now. We went with a smaller one with the EMS unit. I did not request an additional EMS ambulance this year because I had a consideration for this vehicle. Now, we know that law enforcement is changed. It's not the way that it used to be. We're constantly evolving with the threats. We're adding security to our schools. We're adding security within our police departments. We're training our officers differently. This is just like Sergeant Mazzio said, another tool for us to use. Now, for us to have this equipment, for us to request this equipment, you're talking about close to an hour for a county SWAT team to come with the ladders, the pole cameras, the entry tools. This is going to be all right here. Now, yes, it may seem expensive, but I have different ideas that we can look at the financing and look at reducing the costs on this. It is going to be a patrol vehicle. It's going to be used on all 3 shifts every single day. So it's going to be manned by officers that are already been trained in this type of vehicle deployment and the equipment. We have a significant amount of our officers that are trained in advanced patrol tactics, which we ran and created their own program ourselves, where it's just not your standard officer. They're trained more for tactical emergencies. So this vehicle is going to have ladders, entry tools, something where we need to get inside a facility as quickly as possible to mitigate the threat that might be inside there. It's also going to have equipment, just a common rescue equipment. You may say, okay, what about the fire departments, all the advanced tools that they have? Well, they're not trained to go into a hot zone where you have an active threat working. They're slowly starting to be involving to go into a warm zone to come in there, but that's after the threat is basically has already been passed, diminished, or it's in a different location. Then they come in. This vehicle right here and the officers and the equipment in it would be able to handle that situation almost immediately. So that was a concept that I thought, again, Toms River is using it. There's a few different police departments in New Jersey that are significantly smaller than Howell that are deploying it for that reason. So it takes over as a patrol vehicle. So if you were going to consider those 10 vehicles, and I know Mrs. Smith said 7, if you were going to consider those 10, I'd be willing, it would be feasible to go down to 8, take the financing or the cost of those 2 additional vehicles, apply it towards this because it's acting as a patrol vehicle. I also have safe corridor funds. We were awarded a grant from the New Jersey State Department of Motor Vehicle which is around, I believe it's 50,000 this year, 47,000, which can be used for this type of vehicle because it's seen support for accident investigations, crash investigations, pedestrian strikes, anything that we may have going on Route 9. So it's actually a dual-purpose vehicle, and we have the funds for it. So if you're talking about the $40,000 per car, those 2 cars, $80,000 plus the $47,000 that are given to me by the Safe Corridor, using a fund for that, it has significantly reduced the amount of the cost of this vehicle, and now you are deploying a vehicle on the roads in Howell that is beyond what any other police department is basically using. Will be absolutely ahead of very progressive in most police departments, and you'll see this becoming more and more of a trend. And this is not. We actually sat down and spoke on numerous occasions. And how much was the last one that you told me it was?
$220,000.
So obviously, you're talking about $220,000. I said, that's absolutely not going to fly with the council, nor does it fly with me. Let's get this cost down lower. Different vendors, we're looking at different type of equipment to put in there. We have our own equipment that we can put in it, so we can absolutely stock this vehicle and have it on the road at a significant savings to the town, obviously, if we,
What am I missing from the manager here? Police EMS Ford 450 Frontline Emergency Response Vehicle, $85,000. What am I missing?
because of that safe corridor, which was close to 50,000, so now that's 135,000 right there?
35.
135, and the reduction of the cars. That's what I proposed to him that I was willing to do. There was also some talk about some Homeland Security money. However, when I was talking to the coordinator from the Homeland Security, they wouldn't, all the money has already been allocated.
Any other money laying around, Chief? You can help us with? Any other money laying around?
Well, I can use that 35,000 that I'm spending on that CSU truck. I can apply towards that if you want to.
Just ask it, Chief.
I'm willing to, Councilman, I'm willing to absorb some of the costs out of my LETF, absolutely.
What's your
Thanks-
LETF?
Law Enforcement Trust Fund. So thanks to Captain Rizzo and the officers in CSU, they are regularly working with other agencies, bringing in more assets as a result of.
I spoke to you some about that with
So-
That's why I'm asking Lou, do we have any money that we've already bonded for? That's sitting there? I mean, it's important. Let's put it to use.
It is.
Chief, I appreciate the creative funding for this vehicle with the safe corridor grants, but I've been asking for years, and I think the council has, about traffic signal devices, upgrading we're hearing all these accidents. So I know there was proposals for flashing stop signs, more visibility. Where are we with that?
Last year, you asked me for traffic trailers, and we got them. We bought them. We bought 2 traffic trailers. They're deployed throughout the town. The software for those speed signs that you see out there was absolutely ridiculous. It's like buying a printer. You know, you buy the printer for $50 and then the ink costs you, $80.
Color printers, you can have it for
It's the
nothing.
same thing with these speed signs. So when I was at the last IACP convention out in San Diego, I actually met with the manufacturer for about an hour, getting that price reduced down considerably, almost less than 50% of what they were proposing. And that is included in my specialized expenses. So that's in there. That money's in there.
So what are we proposing for traffic signal devices?
Are you talking about the ones like over there by Stewart's, on Georgia Tavern?
Yeah, Stewart's,
Where
the
it's-
one's deployed on Ford or Kent, one's deployed on Georgia Tavern, one's on West Farms, and I believe we have 6 of them deployed. Actually, 2 are down right now.
But those are just speed, those are the speed ones. What about like,
That helps, it tells me I'm going 41, I slow down.
no, but there was talk about stop signs, the illuminated stop signs, the flashing red stop signs for higher visibility. We have dark roads and we don't have a lot of lights on the
Yeah,
roads.
I agree with you. There's several intersections I need. Are they allowed? I don't know if they're allowed.
I see them in other towns.
Yeah, I'll look into it, but, just for traffic control devices, I have, $9,000 allocated in my specialized expense for that.
And those are specific for the radar? The radar signs, the speed signs?
Right. Well, that's just not, that $9,000 also includes upgrades to any type of existing, upgrades or enhancements to speed enforcement, including radar stations, signage, and trailers.
Just so I know, Chief, I know 40,000 you mentioned the car, but I'm looking at 45,000 here in this budget report we have. If it's 45, it's okay, but is that the number? Is it 40 or is it 45?
So, since it initially was 40, but then we added officer protection features to the vehicles. Each of the vehicles now have extra ballistic protection to the vehicles, adding that extra $2,500 per door to the vehicle. So you're coming to 45,000.
Lou, when we bond for the police vehicles, how many years we bonded them for? Is it 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
I believe it's a 5-year
It's a
useful
5-year
life.
number?
5-year useful life.
Do you think most of them are lasting us 5 years overall, chief?
The vehicles?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Officer Levine will tell you, some of the vehicles that we still have in service are 2013s. Some of the Caprices are 2012s. 2012s that are still in service. They're ending their service life as far as patrol. So usually we'll see a patrol car last about 3 years, and then we basically strip it down and send it over to the Detective Bureau to use. So they're getting much more than 5 years. We have a vehicle right now that we're using this for 14, 15 years right now.
No, I just don't want to fall behind the 8 ball, so 5 years is at least a good enough number
Absolutely.
that we're not financing them, they're no good no more, we're financing another one.
No, we're using vehicles longer than 5 years.
Okay. But we gotta go on a mean average if we keep on doing it all the time. I'm okay.
Yeah.
As long as, if it's 6, 7 years as an average we're using a vehicle, that's fine. I'm okay with, really, you don't have to explain to me if it's for extra precautionary measures for the safety of officers. The number of vehicles, I'm gonna lean toward Councilwoman Smith with this, but the extra safety I won't budge on. I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
The extra vehicles, but that includes the truck,
What truck? Haven't got to that yet.
the one that he just went through.
I know.
Okay.
I haven't got to discussing that with nobody yet. I've heard all about the truck. Truck sounds great.
Councilman DeCastro, I'm going to look into that, the signage, to see if it's actually DOT approved to actually use them. I've seen them in other jurisdictions as well. I've seen them. I'll have the answer for you by end of the week.
Chief, we spoke the other day, and I am all for it. We had a meeting the other day about the new Special Threes
Yes, sir.
in our schools, and I am personally 100% supportive of it. I think, Mayor, we should ask to have a meeting with the Board of Education, have it here in Town Hall. I think we need to do that anyway for our best practices, to have a joint meeting with the Board of Ed at least once every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Shouldn't it be more often?
You know what, you need to talk into the mic, or I'm not going to answer you.
I said, shouldn't it be more often?
Listen, it's not always ebony and ivory living in perfect harmony when we sit with the Board of Ed, as you will find out. On this, I think we have a joint purpose, the safety of our children in our schools and the workers in the schools, and we had a meeting, and I think we're all on board. But there's going to be some extra money. In the first year, it's going to be a $300,000 commitment from the governing body with the municipal tax money. So, and then after that, it's about $150,000 a year. But it was double in the first year for startup costs, training, materials, the whole ball of wax. And I'm fully supportive of it. But I know that's not in our budget numbers, correct, Mr. Mayfield?
That's correct.
Okay, because that's something relatively new. For me, part of my judgment's going to be on what we do or don't do. That'll be on top of my list of what I will be supportive of, is that $300,000 for the Special Threes in our schools. So, I would also like more from you about specials being with our police officers at night. The governing body was very adamant about that last year, and I think it's something we should continue. Safety of our residents and the safety of our police officers, I think, is something that we all take seriously. How do you pay for it? It's part of the things you do hear from the taxpayers. You're spending too much money here, too much money there. Well, we want you to spend less money, but they don't tell you where. So it's something I'd really like to look into, is having some special twos at night with the police officers out on patrol. There's a lot of things we would all like to see done, but we also have to come down to financial responsibility and accountability. Because believe me, whatever you say to me, I can tell you right now, when I speak individually to taxpayers, all of them think their taxes are too high. So I asked them what they want me to cut. They don't really know, and they don't really care. That's why they elected us. But I know I'm going to have a very difficult time telling people why we raised taxes again this year. And the only thing I'm really willing to fight for, and I will be 100% for, is the $300,000 for the special threes in the schools. I'm adamant about it, so I'll be glad to discuss it with anybody at any time. I think the reports done by Captain Starr the other day, and yourself, Chief, they were spot on. All my questions were answered, and I just wanted to be clear that this is not in the budget, because me and Mr. Mayfield have spoken about it since. And it's something that will be added. And I don't want nobody to usually they don't misunderstand me, but I am 100% supportive of it. So if I have to make cuts in other places, Chief, or recommend cuts in other places, that will be why. Just like you, I have to prioritize.
I'm sure DPW won't be upset. They'll understand.
DPW will understand. DPW will understand a few more things. Some of those capital questions, just so you know, are advanced questions. Or why was money allocated 4 years ago and isn't spent yet? How much of a necessity was it? Okay, I can't say that happens too often with the police capital request. Even I always have questions for Sergeant Garrity and some of the stuff that he wants. But I don't understand them enough to question them. So I'm sure there's more money going towards that this year. Correct?
For what program, sir?
For the monitors, the radios, all different kinds of stuff that we spoke about a $2 million commitment over a few years. Is there more money going to that this year, or is it already allocated, just not spent yet?
That's exactly what it is. We actually had a meeting in my office this morning talking about that. So, Steve, Gary?
Yes, sir.
Steve? There's no additional money being spent this year in the 2017 budget for communications, correct? We're just we're working off the capital off for the radio project.
Well, there's more money being spent. It's just money that we already allocated in previous years.
Correct.
For the upgrading of all this.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Correct. And in fact, we were questioning need for him to even be here tonight because there's no large projects.
You know, ever since I almost got him to give me $250,000 about 7-8 years ago when the chief was away, I like him to be here in case he took a break. I might get $250,000 out of him, you know. I was close, Chief. I was real close about 7-8 years ago. I could taste it. I'm good. I mean, we went through this. We went through this for a few years. It's all in motion. Everything's going as planned.
Yes, sir.
Okay? I don't have nothing else to question about it. I mean, you can't stop now, can you?
No.
All
We're
right?
about to go
We're a
live.
few weeks from going live.
Excuse me?
We're a few weeks from going live. And thank you for that.
Yeah, we went through it. We had to upgrade the whole system, the radios, the whole, what are we gonna, just so you know, Mayor, it was a long drawn-out discussion for a couple of years. And it's part of what came into discussion with the dispatch and the communications with the county. It all fit together in different ways, shapes, or forms. But it's money that we agreed to bond for and put into our infrastructure with the police and our first aids, our emergency services, so.
So you're referring to the emergency, the talk that was around town about the emergency services going to the county? Is that what you're referring to?
No,
Oh.
it was all about, no, that was part.
Okay.
One thing we wanted to make sure of is if it ended up in the county, which eventually one day I believe it will be, that all the money being spent was compatible to county's equipment. Correct, Mr. Garrity?
Yes, sir.
Okay? We went back and forth about that. Whether or not it had to be upgraded. And it is, there were a lot of good information came out. It's a decision that was made at the time. So, I really don't need to know anything else other than that everything's going smooth and we're going to be where you said we would be.
Yes,
So in a few weeks, we'll be online, huh?
Yes, sir.
Enough said. Are you satisfied now? Let's go.
Can I backtrack for just 1 second very quickly? I understand there was a meeting about the special threes with the school system. Is there a way to get a synopsis of that meeting, because I wasn't privy?
Yes, I do have a synopsis of it right here.
Only because I know that I was at a meeting with the Board of Ed several years ago, and this isn't a new idea. We've talked about this for a long time. So it's nice to see some kind of movement.
There's going to be special threes, there's going to be one in each middle school. If it's approved, there's going to be one shared in the 10 other schools. There'll be 1 to 2 schools, correct, Chief?
15 officers total.
15 officers total,
15.
all part-time retired officers, no more than 29 hours per week.
We don't have that many schools, but
Well,
It's
it's
gonna be-
7 full,
Yeah,
7
they're all going to be
FTEs.
part-time. It's going to be staggered, it's going to be part-time. So, because if they go over 29 hours, now they're full-time employees with full medical benefits, so they all have to be under 29 hours. So,
and the impending meeting with the Board of Ed would be to discuss financial arrangements that would be apropos to the taxpayer?
no,
Oh,
not really. We discussed it with the Board of Ed, it's just up for us to vote on. The Board of Ed is, we pretty much hammered that all out, it's something we have to vote on. It's going to be a yes or a no.
when did we talk to the Board of Ed?
They were in a meeting with us the other day.
Well, wouldn't it be nice if we all had that information?
Yeah,
Well, let's do it.
okay. Didn't I just say before we should have a meeting with the Board of Ed?
Yeah, well, we should have been doing that for 50 years, but my point is $300,000 isn't something that we just talk about a little bit, and
No.
nobody seems to have the nuts and bolts of it. Well, I know I don't have the nuts and bolts of it.
No, it was an in-depth report done by the chief and his staff, Captain Starl.
Hey, look, I have no
Lieutenant
problem with
Fowler.
the intent of the program.
I
mean,
believe
you know,
we were going to discuss that tomorrow in executive.
Then I'll reserve my comments for tomorrow at executive.
Thank you.
We also had a meeting about, did we also have a meeting with the mayor and deputy mayor, with the PBA about traffic? What was the outcome of that meeting?
About traffic.
Would you meet with you met with the PBA about the fees for traffic?
Special detail?
Yes. What was the outcome of that meeting?
I think we should talk about that in executive as well.
I don't know if we can talk about an
Unless
executive.
you've got specific employees, you can't.
It's about policy.
Policies in front, yeah.
I think the mayor's,
that's
I
all.
think the manager said it could be discussed in executive.
I think based because it's involving personnel, we can. And also, it's a form of, not necessarily a contract, but it's an agreement that impacts the fiscal status of the township.
When is that on the agenda for executive session?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Is it contractual, Mr. Mayfield?
No, it's not.
It's policy.
Correct.
You know what? Do what you all want. Policy's supposed to be discussed here on TV from the dais, okay?
I can confirm through Labor Council if you'd like me to.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Before tomorrow's meeting?
Yes, I
Okay.
can take care of that.
Listen, we hear far too often that
Transparency.
that the people say you're having these meetings with different organizations and you're not telling the people about them. I have a difficult time with this, just so you know.
I don't think that's the intent at all. I think the intent was for all of us to discuss it, to see if we all were in agreement.
Agreement about what?
Well, we talked with the PBA about the special jobs, and we're talking about,
What do you want us to discuss?
What are we talking about?
isn't this a budget meeting?
Yeah,
This is about money.
I understand, but this is just specific to the budget. I thought we would talk about this tomorrow in council.
You know what, Mayor, you're not being fair here, okay? You have meetings with people, you discuss numbers with people, the governing body asks you to, please, let's talk about it, and you don't want to tell us, that's really not fair.
That's not the case. So if you want to talk about it, that's fine. So we had a meeting today with the PBA. Take out my notes, if I may. And currently, the PBA is making $55 per hour for the special jobs. They came to council, I believe, a couple of times. They came to discuss this. I got involved last week or 2 weeks ago. And the discussion was to increase the hourly wage, as well as increase the administrative fee. And Deputy Mayor Nacasio discussed, we can possibly put in some extra dollars as well to
Mayor?
save for a car.
I apologize for interrupting you, but I just checked with Labor Council now. This is appropriate for executive session.
To be continued in executive session tomorrow.
Well, I have a question, and it's going to be,
It's not that I'm not being fair. I didn't think that was fair of you to say, actually.
Okay?
well, I just would say as a council person, I'd like to be privy to the same information that my colleagues are. And to think that there's a meeting happening and I'm not privy to that information for several days, I feel is unjust. And that it puts me in a position where I don't have the information at hand that my colleagues have. So in the future, maybe you need to check with legal counsel, because I'm not going to find that this is going to be appropriate for me to be, really on target with the information if I don't have it.
But you will.
So,
You will.
okay.
We have the problem that, according to the Open Meetings Act, we'd be a quorum, so there would be an official meeting.
No, I understand what that...
We can't do that.
I understand
So-
that, but he's saying that I guess my point is that I like to be very involved in with the information if I need to make a decision.
As do I. I
And,
want all
yeah.
the information there is, but
So-
we'll get it if we have to wring their necks to get it, that's all.
Yeah, well, obviously,
I know.
I don't want to go down that road. I just think that we all need to be on the same page all the time. So, even an
You're-
email to say that this meeting was taking place might have been appropriate. That's all. Well, that's all for now. Okay, back to the budget.
Let me just be clear. We do committees. It's like a committee. There's a finance committee. Two members will sit on it. They'll bring it
Right.
back to the governing body. This is no
Right.
different than a committee meeting of two people. And if you want to sit on a committee, I think you were asked to sit on something with, it's just like if you want to meet with the chamber, for example. Because of the Open Public Meeting Act, we could only
Right,
meet
it's
with two.
limited.
So if you want to sit on the meeting, just chime in an email and say, I would like to be involved in the email, in that meeting, and then you're going to relay the information back to whoever is not there. So it's,
I understand that, Robin. I understand the committee, how this would work. My concern is that I wasn't aware that this was occurring. So I wasn't aware that there was a committee that would encompass this.
In all due respect, we had a conversation at the last council meeting regarding the PBA meeting.
and there was emails.
And we have an email
least 5
from the
emails.
manager, too. That isn't fair. We have an email from the manager telling us some of the things that were going to be discussed, like vehicles and their
Okay.
costs.
Yeah, but that's true.
Okay,
The
well,
vehicles and the cost wasn't what I was referring to. Let's just go back to the...
There was emails, there was at least 10 emails that said PBA details. That was the title of the email, I believe. So, right, Jeff?
That's correct. This went back and forth quite a bit.
Chief, do you have anything else?
I do.
Please.
So, we're good with communications and 911 with Steve. Information technology, IT. I'd like to, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
I'd like to call up EMS Coordinator Peggy Doyle. That's the, my three budgets. So just real quick with the highlight of the EMS unit. In 2016, it was anticipated revenue of $797,000. 2016 was realized at 1.1 million for a net gain of $300,000. This is directly contributed to EMS Coordinator Doyle, switching over to Revenue Guard, which was a different billing company. She realized that the old billing company wasn't providing us with the appropriate, basically the chargeable income, and as a result, we're seeing a $300,000 net increase in our revenue and EMS unit. I thank you for making her position full-time. It is
Chief,
at
that's your gross, not your net. Just let's
Right.
get that number right. It's really not 300,000.
well, it is a net.
What?
It is a net. Our expenses were 800,000.
Last year, that was 376,000.
But after expenses was, the savings, the actual revenue was about 100,000, a little over 100,000. Let me just find my notes.
Okay, regardless, it's more income than we've ever experienced.
I'm not disputing that.
in
I'm
the
not
EMS unit.
disputing that. But
So
people
with the-
tend to think that you got $300,000 coming into the coffers, and that's not accurate after all the payouts.
Lou, do you have the numbers? The
expen-
analysis that I provided the governing body, for 2016, we collected just under $1.1 million in EMS revenues, and total cost for such items such as salaries and wages, uniforms, medical expenses, payment to the volunteer squad, specialized expenses, training and education, employer social security and medical cost, gasoline, liability insurance, repairs to the ambulance, debt service and utilities, total approximately $719,000, giving it a net excess of an estimated $376,500.
What sheet was that? Because I know I saw something different.
Sorry, I was short 76,000.
Lou, where was that you gave
I
us
had
that?
provided it to I believe the manager had emailed it over
Pass along.
Was
Friday.
that a sheet
I
that
printed
said
it out.
revenues? Is that-
This is it.
Which one is it?
For those who don't think I ever look at my emails, I printed it out. I just tell you all I don't look at them.
I had this one.
Good, you could proceed.
So we made our position full-time at the beginning of this year, was approved last year, so I thank you for that, because obviously it is a million-dollar business. And
You're full-time now, right?
yes, she's doing an excellent job. In this year's budget, I requested an additional supervisor, full-time supervisor, basically a co-coordinator. Upon meeting with Manager Mayfield, it was basically reduced down to a part-time position. It's currently what I have now. What I'm asking you is this: I'm asking you to make it into a full-time position. Like I said, it is a business, basically paying for itself. She is the coordinator. I need a road supervisor, somebody that's going to be out there making sure that our state license that we are regulated under is, all the policies are being met, the treatment is compliant with our expectations and state law, and basically overseeing the other squads that fall under our license. It's too much for one person to do because she is administrative, doing all the accounts receivable, doing any type of Medicare disputes, policies. She's in the office. I need somebody out there like a road sergeant, like a patrol sergeant out there monitoring the guys. I need that as well with the EMS unit.
Chief, off the top of my head, I would ask you two things. One, if you hired a billing company, what's she doing all the billing? That'd be number one. That'd be number one question. Okay? And this is the second thing, and this is a very difficult thing. Okay? I looked at the numbers before from Mr. Mayfield and from our CFO, and to hire another full-time cop costs $110,000. From the numbers, $108,900 and something, from the numbers that came from them. Full-time employees, when you start to put benefits on, you start to put pension costs, you are over doubling. It's not like the private sector, it's not like a private business, where the person you hire may cost you $15,000 or $20,000 in intangibles. You hire a government employee, you're looking at $40,000, $50,000 in intangibles. I may be able to totally accept that for a police officer, okay? But for a regular administrative person, it becomes very difficult to be willing to tell taxpayers, we want you to pay over double what you would pay for that same person in the private sector. It's becoming harder and harder to tell that to your neighbor, okay? And I can appreciate that you need somebody else. I mean, why not accept a part-timer and see how it goes? I mean, give us a chance. We just went through this with the Alliance last week, who wanted us to hire somebody when we know the former director was costing over $100,000 a year.
Councilman, the EMS unit has made out for the past 10 years with part-timers. We've been running this way for 10 years. Bricktown started up the same year we did. Basically, our licenses are, we have co-licensing with them. How many full-time staffers do they have?
Bricktown, they have 27 full-time staff members.
27 full-time staff members in their EMS unit. Now, granted, they pull in a lot more revenue because of their population over there. However, this is the first year in 10 years that we've hired a full-time person running $1 million company.
I understand.
Okay? So, we just had this discussion today because Coordinator Doyle now is trying to get me to hire full-time EMTs. That way there's consistent employees working with us. I just told her no about that because I said I want to get my supervisory staff in place first before we start hiring full-time EMTs. Bricktown has full-time EMTs. They run it like a business. We are not doing that right now. We're like quasi-business, even though it's pulling in additional revenue for the town. So for 10 years, we've been doing part-timers. This is the first time we've hired a full-timer. So I would consider ourselves pretty lucky over the past 10 years, the amount of money that's been saved to this town for this unit. Now, granted, it wasn't in the black for many, many years until she came on board and started seeing some discrepancies, seeing stuff that wasn't being billed for, and got involved in that and got us all that extra revenue coming in, now to the point now we're in the black significantly, $376,000.
Yeah, Chief, I stand corrected. It was for 2016, and I was working off an
No
email.
problem. I understand.
But 2017, it's projected to be 138.
Yeah.
That's where I know
Okay.
I got the 100-something thousand from.
Because of her salary now, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's why I brought up before, if we change the ordinance, that's going up $85,000 what they project to give to the volunteers. Well, excuse me, I better be exact. 72,500, and it looks like $59. Okay? And now if we add another salary, is this in your numbers, Mr. Mayfield?
The added salary?
What? Yes.
Yes. The analysis of this was a straight, I had taken the numbers that were estimated for the 2017 budget was straight from the documentation that was provided to the governing body in his budget requests. So that does include his salary or wages request is what was estimated on that analysis that was provided to the governing body.
Hold on.
For the EMS, but not for the new position on the original documentation.
Okay.
Correct.
So now we have to add another 80,000
Correct.
or 90,000.
Correct. If you're asking me if that's the position that was supported, it was not. But it
So-
was included in the EMS breakdown.
In this paper
Correct.
right here.
Yes.
Correct.
Actually, no, you would not have to add that because the part-time salary and wages for that part-time supervisor would just roll into that full-time.
At the same, not at the same cost, Chief.
No, I understand that. It's half the
Okay?
cost.
So we would have to put another $50,000-$60,000.
Agreed.
Okay?
For benefits as well.
For the, yeah, when you're rolling in another $50,000,
Agreed.
$60,000.
And this is the reason why we had this discussion today in my office, because obviously she knew about the budget hearing and talking about the full-time EMTs to get us, try to be similar to Brooktown, slowly. And my comment to Peggy was that salary, the health benefits crush the town. And I said, let me just concentrate on getting my supervisors in place before we start worrying about EMTs, because the part-time EMT program is working. It does struggle a little bit, but she and the other supervisors make it work. But what I'm just asking you is that it is $1 million business with revenue coming in that basically pays for itself. Adding that additional supervisory position would be a tremendous benefit to this EMS unit and getting it to the point where we want it to be a few years from now. It was a great start with her. Her salary was actually approved in 2016, and it was held off until 2017. So I would have been asking for that full-time position anyway this year. That's all I have. And I'm not asking for a $190,000 ambulance this year. We compromised on that. We went down and got basically a used one.
But you asked for a $175,000 truck. It's okay.
Right. It's compromise.
You have to understand, as somebody said to me earlier today, the well is dry. People have problems paying taxes, paying for their health insurance.
Yeah.
We pay the bills. I don't know how everybody feels, but I feel very strongly that I was elected to represent the people, and the people don't have any more money to pay. It's disgusting. And these
Chief, they really don't want to hear, really, they really are getting fed up with how much government costs. They don't want to hear government needs to get bigger, okay?
Councilman,
They think overall,
right,
and I'm not saying Howell Township,
right.
they think overall, government is the most inefficient waste of money that mankind has ever seen. And it's tough for them to tell them it's in your best interest if we increase the size of government. It's real hard. I mean, they answer a council person or a mayor a little bit different than they answer a police officer. I mean, if we went and put in a voting booth this year, should we hire 10 people and cost another $150 a person in taxes? I bet we'd lose it 90 to 10. I mean, that's what they would say behind that curtain when nobody knows. I mean, and we have to live it. I gotta live it in Acme. I gotta live it over at the ball fields. I gotta live it at a wrestling match. I gotta live it at a restaurant, okay? It's not an easy thing to live. I'm pretty much getting tired. I've been up here 12 years. If I didn't really care about my town, I would take a hike. Because I'm getting tired.
I've lived in this town my entire life.
I know.
I pay taxes, I'm very aware of it. I control that police department, I run that police department as if it's my own personal business. The reason why I started off talking about the overtime rate is because I take great pride in reducing that overtime rate by almost half since I became chief 20 months ago.
And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
We
You've done a
appreciate
good
it.
job.
Yeah, thank you. And that's why I come in with the justification as to what I do. I don't come in here asking for 10 full-time EMTs. I'm asking for 1 additional supervisors.
I understand.
I don't ask you to bring me up to 111 sworn officers like the ordinance states. I get it. I
What
understand.
ordinance?
Right.
What ordinance? We've had this discussion.
Right. I'm not asking for that either. I'm asking for small increments, and I have that additional revenue coming into the account through the EMS unit. I'm constantly looking to try different means within my police department. We gained $15,000 that we never had just by billing online for accident reports, right? We started up the alarm billing a few years ago. That was all under my command, right? So I'm constantly looking to run it as if it's my business.
Some people have yelled at us about that alarm bill.
Yeah, I get it, I understand, but just like you have been put up there
I
to represent the
understand.
people, I'm put in charge in order to protect the same
But
people that
that's
you represent.
tax too. That's
Yeah.
all these fees that people pay.
Yeah. They do. They look at the fees as taxes too. Yeah. Chief, you've done a real good job, really. We've had discussions, and we have a top-notch police department.
Yes, we do.
At the end of the day, though, we still have to answer to, where's the money tree?
I understand.
I mean, if anybody has it and they're hiding it, I mean, it's why I have a hard time on a lot of things that get asked of me. Because at the end of the day, it's the user that pays. Okay, even if it's the gas company, the water company, the electric company, eventually the user and the taxpayer pay for it. Government has no money. The only money they have is the money they take from the people. They don't have 1 penny if they didn't take it from the people. So everything that goes to anybody in government, or anything, any equipment being used, it comes from the user. So it's getting harder and harder to explain to them,
I get it,
all right?
I understand.
I'm not saying a lot of what you asked for isn't justified or could be used to benefit their lives. I just don't know if the people want their lives to be benefited that much anymore. I think they'd rather see a reduction in taxes.
Anything else for any of my support personnel behind me?
I do not. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Chief.
No, thank you.
Thank you all.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll do the best we can by you.
Bob, I'll get that to you by the end of the week.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks, Chief. Good job.
Should we go on? Do you want to take a break or you want to go on?
No, I can go home. Watch The Bachelor.
Okay, do you want to continue? You want to take a break? Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break. Okay, gentlemen, let's reconvene.
On the J sheets, it is J14, and the road department begins in the budget request booklet on page 125, 125.
Please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good
George
evening.
Snyder, Public Works Supervisor. Beside me is Eric O'Neill, also from the Public Works Department.
I have no idea.
We're going to go over a PowerPoint presentation. And as you know, Public Works is accountable to the citizens of this town and also township employees. We maintain the infrastructure. And our objective is to operate efficiently, respond in a timely manner, and be flexible while maintaining a responsible budget. My goals for this department is to establish rapid and effective response to the requests of residents and township personnel, continued investment in infrastructure, and develop personnel. Currently, the Public Works Department has 50 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees, broken up into the following divisions. The next slide is the current organizational chart for DPW.
Oh, my goodness. I really need glasses.
Well, the next page, it should be the
Okay.
largest printout of the slide of each of these.
Thank
I know
you.
they came out pretty small.
That's what glasses.
That's with glasses?
That's the glasses. That's it.
And
He went and put them on both sides.
And again, it shows the office staff and the 3 divisions, vehicle maintenance, buildings and grounds, and the road division. Now, the next slide shows a proposed organizational chart for 2017. We were trying to get back to 2008 staffing levels, but those were all cut, and understandably. But still, we proposed having a seasonal permanently assigned to fleet maintenance, and in the DPW1, that is a custodian, and this person will allow deeper cleaning for the carpets and flooring, and also when janitors, custodians are in PD, they have to work around court, because there's certain areas that are off limit, they can't be in certain areas when there's no police present or department heads. So this will give us added flexibility, and they also be able to float to other buildings and free up the repairers or the maintainers and the supervisors to focus on projects.
What is the net change in employees
From,
16 to 17?
we're down 1, correct?
Are we down?
From 2008 staffing levels, we're doing comparative.
Excuse me?
From 2008 staffing levels, we're comparing based upon.
2008,
Correct.
during the recession.
Yeah, that was, once we took the big hit, was '08, so that was our highest staffing levels in some years, so that's where we're comparing off of.
But from-
Okay.
We've almost made up for what we lost.
Correct. Correct, we're still 1 short, but we're almost there.
Yeah, we've added people and equipment, but you understand there was no money back then.
Absolutely.
We went short in every department.
Yep, that's why we're trying to slowly inch back up.
Okay.
And also, on the road division, I am looking to add a crew leader, because currently the span of control, we have 2 supervisors. They supervise approximately 12 employees each and over 62-plus square miles. So by adding a crew leader, this will reduce the span of control and improve efficiency and hopefully response time. And that would be a promotion, we're looking to promote from within, that could be anywhere from $2,300 to $4,300.
So, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Sure.
So from 16 to 17, the net change is adding one,
Correct, yes.
right?
Correct. A DPW 1 would be the
Correct.
salary grade.
Okay,
It's an entry-level position that we're looking at.
It's a grade 12 per the TWU contract.
okay.
They're looking right here, Mayor. Yeah, this is Community Development Administrative Assistant,
Yeah,
DPW worker.
okay,
That's what the manager's recommendation.
okay. All right, thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, next slide.
Don't thank me, Mayor.
Road department salary and wages, a change of $61,000. That reflects that new hire, the promotion, and some contractual increases. Next slide. Road department O&E, a change of $46,900. That's basically increase in prices and an increase in some of the materials we need to maintain additional roads that are coming on. And in the O&E includes pothole patch mix, asphalt, salt, sand, paint, and other materials used to maintain the roads.
The best love.
Recycling, we asked for an increase, but that was cut, so it's going to stay the same as it did in 2016. And this is funded through grants, and that includes recycling education, enforcement, and recycling center operation. Buildings and grounds O&E, a change of $14,500. And again, this is for, the change is because of increase in prices and increase in some responsibility. And this includes cleaning supplies for the buildings, toilet paper, water for the buildings, paint, lumber, electrical, plumbing, etc. Town hall, wages and salaries. There's 2 full-time employees assigned to town hall. There's a change of approximately $7,800. This reflects a promotion last year. We added a crew leader and also contractual obligations. Town hall O&E, a change of $5,000. And this is for maintenance supplies, utilities, and property tax for this building. Vehicle maintenance, salary and wages. Vehicle maintenance employs 7 full-time employees to maintain approximately 300 pieces of equipment, and there was a reduction of $1,400, and that was due to a retirement. Vehicle maintenance O&E, a change of $10,000, and this is again due to increase in pricing, and this includes grease, oil, tires, maintenance items, parts, bodywork, transmissions, engines, and tools. Solid waste O&E, a change of $110,000, and this is basically because of increase in landfill fees, tipping fees, and a new curbside recycling contract, and there was an increase in that. And in this line item includes grinding the brush and removal of leaves.
George, this is getting a lot of attention in towns lately, specifically when it comes to electronic recycling,
Yes,
because the cost is becoming off the charts.
correct.
Do you have any thoughts on how we're going to address this? This is a big number.
Yeah, well, the electronics recycling, we're paying for out of recycling trust fund through recycling grants and any revenue from selling recyclables in the recycling center.
So what does that say? That will cost neutral?
Yes.
What did?
Yeah. We usually are.
Doesn't
And I
tell
think
you
it's
real
a,
Your department has to work at it in order to get everything in order and to get all those grants. You have to meet certain requirements,
exactly.
and it's drudgery, right?
Yes, Councilwoman.
But you're saying our electronic waste recyclable is cost neutral?
Currently, it is, yes. We got a $10,000 grant to subsidize that last year, and also the recycling tonnage grant, and the income from the recycling center. The whole recycling operation isn't cost neutral, but That, we do fund that, and that's why we maintain it. And the alternative is probably finding the TVs on the side of the road, and we don't want that.
Finding
Or-
what?
Or in the garbage.
Well, I understand that there's the con if we don't
Yeah.
do it,
That never happened.
which a lot of towns are facing. But 590 is not covered through grants or anything
Oh,
like
no,
that.
no. The electronic recycling cost is $24,000 a year, just for electronics.
How much?
24,000 approximately.
You're gonna try to speak into the, you got a
Sorry.
mic there.
$24,000.
Okay, yeah, if I'm not hearing it, and I have a bad hearing, don't get me wrong, but it's not picking it up.
Okay.
There you go.
Clean communities. No change in.
What page Clean Communities?
Excuse me?
It's next slide.
Five,
What?
on here.
Yeah, but where's it on the J? Where's Clean Communities?
I saw it.
I like to follow it off of there.
Yeah, I know, but
Page J22, Councilman.
Excuse me?
J22.
J22.
It's right there in the middle.
Gotcha.
Oh, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Thought he was still looking. Okay, so no change in clean communities, and again, this is funded by grants, and it provides one full-time employee and two part-time employees. $22,000 for cleanups and clean community education and adopt a road program, and again, there's no change, and this is again funded through grant money. Now, road department capital. I'm looking for two heavy-duty trucks this year, $500,000. These trucks are tandems. Our current tandem is a 2001, and tandem is beneficial because it has a larger carrying capacity. It will have a plow on it, a salt spreader, and a brine applicator. And we also use it for pavement operations, haul and brush, leaves, and trailers, and haul and material. Two light-duty trucks, $170,000. These light-duty trucks, whether it could be a rack body as pictured or a mason dump, the rack bodies will be used for bulk cleanup, leaf pickup, and pulling mower trailers and equipment during the mowing season, and also plowing snow. And currently, we have 11 light-duty trucks that are older than 12 years old. Front-end loader, $250,000. Front-end loader is essential to our operation. It's also used for the leaf collection, brush pickup, snow removal, and loading trucks with salt and other operations in our facility. Our oldest loader is a 96. Second oldest one is a 2001. Both of them have almost double the useful, they're measured in hours, the double hours of their lifespan on it. And we prioritized all our capital. We made a lot of cuts, and we only left in what we feel is essential, and things that we could address this year. And one of them is to upgrade the library HVAC, $300,000. The current system is outdated. It's failing every year. It's a Band-Aid, and it uses an obsolete refrigerant. There's new refrigerants that can't. It's not interchangeable. The system operates at a higher pressure, and the new system will be, of course, more energy efficient. Repair the PD showers and bathrooms, $75,000. You heard the chief talk about that before. We already started looking into it. The showers were built when the building was designed. Personnel increased. There's not enough. The facility doesn't accommodate the increase in officers, and it leaks into the basement. It's outdated, so this will replace the tile, add more shower heads, and replace the fixtures. library and PD snow guards. During 2 snowstorms, the weight of the snow destroyed the gutters, cost $30,000 each time to fix, so we want to prevent that from happening by installing snow guards and alleviating that problem. Monopole fixed generator, $125,000. This is so we can maintain communications during a power outage.
Where? At Town Hall? I mean, at the PD?
The monopole on the hill, yes.
Echo Lake Roof Pavilion, $50,000. The roof currently leaks. It's not repairable.
Question. Why didn't you fix the roof before you did the floor?
That's a good question. We are going to address that problem.
We did request for it several years ago. We didn't receive funding for it, but the flooring was approved. So we moved ahead with the flooring project. Obviously, it seems backwards, but we can work with the money that we had to work with. So we put the floor in once the money was approved.
Was that last year when I was in the hospital?
Well, hold on, nobody ever told us the roof was leaking, or we would never have approved the floor.
That was cut out of last year's proposal,
What was?
the floor at Echo Lake Pavilion.
The floor was cut out,
No, the roof was.
but we didn't know it was leaking.
I believe I thought that was discussed. I was under the impression that was discussed, and that was the main purpose of that project.
Listen, I'm not the smartest guy on the block,
It has
but I would
certainly got
never
worse.
fix a floor with a leaking roof above it.
It-
And I'm,
It wasn't to that proportion. It's obviously gotten worse throughout the course of the year, especially with the increase in storms we've had. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
that's
sooner rather than later.
unacceptable.
What is the status of the floor then, if the roof has been leaking? Has there been damage to the new floor?
No. Our crew goes in there after rain and they'll inspect. We've only had one instance of water actually leaking onto the floor, and that was cleaned up.
I don't know, somehow I would hope to see that as one of your top priorities.
It's
The
definitely
roof?
a top priority.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Sounds good.
We
I
can
mean,
talk
me
from
personally,
this point moving forward.
yeah, I'm only 1 of 5, but
We're
if
on
I
the
did
same
something
page.
real dumb, I'd like to correct it.
That's definitely why we're proposing it. We definitely want to
Okay.
move forward with that.
Safety film for windows, $20,000. This will prevent shattering of the glass and also prevent projectiles from penetrating for the safety of the employees
Where's this for?
for town hall.
Oh, Town.
Electronic door lock swipe control, $65,000. We would like to expand the current door swipe system to include more offices so we can monitor the coming and going of employees. Fuel island design, $100,000. Current fuel island is outdated, the pumps are outdated, the canopy, where the supports for the canopy meet the ground is rusting. So this is something we definitely have to have on our radar, and we could begin by designing a new fuel island.
This is only design, not the replacement.
Correct. All right, looking towards the future,
The design is $100,000?
yes.
The project itself will probably be in the range of about $1 million.
That's in the budget, isn't it? $1 million?
You want it to be?
Not this year.
We're being reasonable. We figured it couldn't be done this year, so let's design it and then prepare for the eventual replacement, instead of asking for $1 million now and having it sit there.
See, Mary, this is the fun stuff. Okay? What don't you give them?
I have to think about it.
I know, but that's the fun stuff. What don't you give them, and what do you tell the taxpayers you're willing to raise their taxes for?
So design is done with EPA personnel and all of the pertinent people that would be required to make a proper design of a fuel island?
Consultants will consult with consultants and start designing from there, and an engineering
Okay.
company will design it.
Yeah, just for 100,000, I just want everybody that's important to be there. Yeah,
Exactly, yes.
yeah. That's a lot of money.
Okay, then, it might be on your last page, the slide of the organizational chart for 2022. Just looking forward, we'd like to see an administrative assistant move up to administrative assistant 2 due to increased responsibility, and all the supervisors, operational supervisors through attrition become supervisors in the Teamsters. This will eliminate overtime, and also eliminate one supervisor position and have 2 crew leaders. And this, again, will eliminate overtime and see a decrease in salaries of about $3,500. And also add a maintainer so that we have an extra person to operate the street sweeper and small equipment.
What is a confidential assistant?
That is Eric's position.
That would be me.
That's his title.
But
That's
you
his
just carried
official
that title over from when you were with the
Correct.
manager's office?
Correct. When I was hired in 2013, my title has not changed.
For what?
When I was hired in 2013, my title has not changed since.
Should it be?
It's a valid, should it be? I mean, I'm asking.
To what?
I don't know. What are you now, you're a confidential assistant?
Correct.
Is he considered a supervisor? Pay scale?
He is a unclassified, non-exempt employee that's not part of any of the unions,
So he's not in the union?
correct?
So if your title was changed, which really isn't our doing, is that your doing, Mr. Mayfield? Or do we have the right?
It would depend on exactly what we do, because it could possibly be something that we had to get the union involved with, and quite frankly, we haven't changed it because it works.
Yeah, we
If
should
it's
probably
not-
talk.
If it's not broke,
I get
don't
you.
fix it.
Does it work?
You can call me whatever you want.
Hold on. I kind of stay out of DPW because I know very little except that if the roof's leaking, you should fix the roof before the floor. Okay, I know very little, okay?
I understand that Eric does a wonderful job, and he was hired for Public Works, and I'd like to see him stay in Public Works.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. I'm just wondering if structurally we should authorize something different to be done. I hear nothing but good things also. That's why. Is there something that the governing body you think should be doing different?
But it works.
What?
It works.
Let's try to fix things that need to be fixed.
Okay,
And don't worry about the things that aren't.
okay. Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome. Anytime, Mr. Walsh.
Okay, on the next slide is a 5-year capital plan I developed, and this is, so we have a steady replacement of vehicles and equipment, and also some projects we can anticipate coming down the road, and also projects and equipment that we could purchase within the budget cycle. So, in closing, Public Works Department is accountable to the citizens of this town and also the other employees, and it's the purpose of this department to detail a responsible budget in which properly trained and qualified employees provide adequate resources to secure the needs of the community.
Thank you.
Questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
I do not.
Mr. Walsh?
What have you recommended, Mr. Mayfield, here?
As far as what specifically, Councilman?
As far as personnel,
The only thing I recommended for personnel was the one entry-level DPW one, which is a grade 12 in the TWU union. There were several items that were removed prior to it getting to the governing body with regard to personnel additions, upgrades, and numerous capital items that Mr. Snyder, Mr. Palazzo, and I have been talking about multiple times, using some of that old capital. DPW was one of the departments where we really talked about that a lot. And we cut a lot of the stuff that was requested this year, and we're using the old capital, what it was originally planned for, and that's how we're moving forward.
yeah, I noticed that, but I can't point that at you and say, why is old stuff that's been,
I know.
approved 3, 4, 5 years ago not spent?
I can tell you what I did do in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not, just so you know, I don't, okay?
Thank you.
I don't look
Thank
at you and question you about that. That's not fair.
Well, on tomorrow's agenda should be 2 light-duty trucks, 2 other vehicles, and then also I have 2 heavy-duty trucks. The specs should be ready by the end of the month.
What kind of trucks by the end of the month?
Heavy-duty.
The
Single axle.
$500,000 like you asked in this one?
I think it was
No,
4.
This is previous capital approved, and we're spending the old, we have back to 13, so we're spending 13, 14, and 15 money. You should be seeing that tomorrow.
So you're spending 2013, 14, and 15's money?
Correct.
Okay.
And also, we all put a purchase order in for some of the snow removal equipment that was in the old Capitol. I met with contractors for the senior bathrooms, for upgrade and updating them. That's an old Capitol. And
Did the generator ever get installed there?
we
We just met with a vendor yesterday, actually. He's going to give us a price quote within the next week or so. It looks to be, the transfer switch is actually going to have to be placed outside of the building, so there may be a little bit more work than originally anticipated. They can't move any of the stuff inside where all the electric comes into the building, so they're going to have to explore what it's going to cost to bring everything outside. So we're waiting on a price for that. I'm thinking that we should still fall within the money that we have there.
So in Old Capitol, you've been meeting with the CFO and the manager. What are we looking to spend from 2013, 14, and 15 that hasn't been spent yet? A dollar figure? And eventually, we're going to have to bond for that, correct, Lou?
That is correct, Councilman.
So eventually, just so I'm clear,
Some of those items, such as the dump trucks and the heavy-duty truck, were financed through the Monmouth County Improvement Authority. So those have been financed.
so we financed them already and the money's
Correct.
sitting there.
We've
Correct.
already been paying for it.
Correct.
We've already been paying for it.
Correct.
But we don't have the equipment. Oh, you know what, we're paying for some of it in advance. Okay, listen, we need to know that number, though, of what we're gonna have to be financed,
Absolutely.
because obviously, and this is just an assumption, so I don't want to assume, there's other money that has not been bonded for yet from old allocations. If it's spent now, we will have to bond for it, so that money's not in this budget either, correct?
Correct. The spending authority has been approved, but we haven't gone out and secured the funding for it. So yes, our temporary financing would need to increase to pay for those expenses at the next time we renewed. Absolutely.
We approved it a long time ago, but we haven't got a coupon yet. Okay? Correct.
Correct.
We need to know, because that's being fair about, if we're gonna take an extra expense on in capital for these things, we need to know what it is before we approve a budget, or at least be in a ballpark.
If I'm reading this correctly, it looks like 13 and 15 were both MCIA years, so that should already be accounted for. The only thing we're looking at is 16, the one heavy duty for 16 and the one heavy duty, or light duty for 16. So everything else should be accounted for, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Anything that would have been in the MCIA funding would have been financed already. So the 2016, if I'm not mistaken, I know for a fact that I did not fund those as we didn't expend it, but I could absolutely give you a number estimate of how much they're planning to spend that we would have to increase
Just
the
some old
finance.
stuff. I don't mean new
Absolutely.
stuff.
Absolutely.
Eric, do you have that now?
Yeah, because new stuff is figured in.
I don't have,
Okay.
I can tell you what we're taking out of where. Yeah, so it looks like,
You could tell me,
I can tell you what accounts will be taking which purchases out of, what old capital will be moving that out of, but as far as a total number, I never ran a
yeah,
tape.
but that doesn't,
Okay.
I'm okay with that. What I need to know, because we're gonna need to know as a governing body, if we're gonna have an extra $150,000 in payments, We have to add that
Okay,
into
so
that.
I can do some quick math for you here.
Eric,
doesn't have to be right at this moment.
Yeah.
can you get
I
it for me
can
by
square
tomorrow
away
night?
Yeah, I can
with
give it
I
to you.
Mr.
suspect
O'Neill,
it'll come
and
up
we
tomorrow
can-
when those other,
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm okay with spending, look, I'm not gonna tell you that I feel peachy cream right now about stuff we financed in 2013 that we haven't bought yet. But at least we're ahead of the curve by 3 years. We've already been making payments for 3 years, but we don't have that new truck in our yard, and
It was payments in good faith.
what?
We were making payments in good faith that we were going to make the purchase.
Yeah. Stuff that was needed and was necessary and we couldn't live without, but we've been paying for and we don't have, so.
We're definitely trying to
I
push everything
understand.
through.
I don't know, not put no blame on y'all, okay? Lou, yeah, I do need to know that number.
And that should
Okay.
be pretty easy to
Yeah.
figure out, because
Yeah.
I have it broken down as far as what projects have been funded and not funded, so I just need to sit with them and pull it. It should be not a problem.
Yeah, and the ones we may knock off the books, and I'm not saying just theirs. We talked about taking old stuff that we allocated 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago that was never spent, and let's wipe it off of, so let that be in that number. Give us something to work with there, okay?
I could give you a total report. I have one spreadsheet that I keep that actually breaks down all of our capital projects by shows how much of it is funded versus unfunded. So this analysis should not be challenging to create for the governing body for you.
So I have a question. So you're proposing to purchase these trucks with the previous money. So do you still need additional trucks?
We will, because the way that obviously the capital cycle works, as we were discussing, I believe, during the police presentation, was we're still looking at another year out by the time we get this other vehicle in. So our fleet is constantly aging, so to keep our lifetime for our vehicles right now is about 12 years. So to keep that up, to keep everything rotating in and out, we're going to need to keep more vehicles coming in. By the time we purchase them, we're looking at late this year, early next year, by the time we actually get the equipment in.
Right, at least a full year it generally takes.
It's that long out. Really is a while. It's even more than police cars. But it's not their fault. By the time it gets spec'd out, the whole ball of wax, it goes to purchasing, you know.
One thing to bear in mind that obviously this is an MCIA year, so that AAA rating that we would be able to piggyback on as far as getting top-rated borrowing funding. But as you say, if any of those capital requests were approved and we did secure funding through the MCIA, we would start paying bond payments. Our first payment on the MCIA repayment would need to be factored into the 2018 budget, whether or not we had started getting specs or had taken delivery of any of the equipment.
Thank you.
And some of it we already paid for, that they're just getting delivered now. Some of it we haven't. Any of the new stuff that you've asked for, we have not. So, again, we won't get it for a year, but we'll start paying for it right after it's bonded.
And also, industry standard is 10-year, 100,000-mile replacement cycle. We're being more conservative by going with 12 years. And so vehicles greater than 12 years old, we have 5 heavy-duty dump trucks that are greater than 5 years old, and the tandems, that makes it 6, and 11 light-duty trucks that are more than 12 years old, 3 pickups, and 2 loaders, all more than 12 years old. So with the old capital, by spending old capital and a new request, we'll be getting close to getting our fleet up to date.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have something little for you, and only because it struck my mind when I'm looking through your chart of employees. Did we do Ketchum Road or did the county? Do the tree trimming?
The tree trimming would have been, we had a couple trees that we removed under our contract, and there may have been some stuff that the county removed closer to the intersection.
Okay, they did a nice job. Okay, Fairfield Road's Township Road, correct?
Correct, that was also done by the contractor.
Okay, I just want to bring this up to you. Coming from 33 on the right-hand side, about half, probably about 2/3 of the way, right before you get to that farm that's for sale, before the new development. There's a guardrail there that you can see right now because all the leaves are off the bushes. And you can see where the bushes have grown all around the guardrail. I've noticed it many times and meant to tell you, it's an accident waiting to happen as soon as the spring comes again, because you don't see it. Like right now, you can see it. Soon you will not be able to, a few months from now. See if you can do something about cutting that back, coming from 33, it's on the right-hand side, right before you get to Merrick Road, about 200 yards before Merrick Road on the right-hand side.
Okay, Councilman, we'll look into that.
Yeah, when I saw your chart, I said, you know what, I always meant to tell you that now, for about a year and a half,
Wow.
okay?
It's with the trucks.
Well, you know what, I saw that they cut back Ketchum Road, and some of them are real dangerous. And I noticed Ketchum Road was just cut back recently. And I drive it all the time, it just cut back in the last week or so. And that's part of what sparked it with me.
Can we go
I also prepared some other information. I was anticipating a request for this, but you might find it useful in looking at vehicles for other departments. We have 3 categories. Equipment that is in poor condition, fair condition, and good condition. So you can have these. This is for vehicles, for all township vehicles, not just public works. Did get one copy. There's
George, what am I doing? Just, there's 5 in each pack for each one?
no, 8.
Or is one paper clip?
One paper clip is good, one is paper clip is bad, and one is fair.
There's 3 separate lists, you're gonna have to make copies.
No, there's 8 copies.
Just separate them, right? I gotcha.
Thank you.
What do you want on top? Good, fair, and poor?
Good.
Indifferent.
Okay, there's yours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
Because we just don't have enough to read.
Why don't you save yourself a couple of steps, Penny, and just hand them down?
Yeah,
Then you would have to do this.
being as you're here late, Miss Moneypenny.
May I?
Went tomorrow night too, a double header here.
What?
This is good time.
You need to come in late,
This
Jamal.
is good time.
Take a little
Ask
time.
if there's any
Councilwoman,
discussion
Miss
on it.
Moneypenny.
Drive to work slowly.
But I think we should. Thank you.
I'd like to open the meeting now to the general public.
Yeah, Miss Money. Yeah. Wait, when the rooster crows tomorrow in
Oh,
Great
yeah, we're
Ridge,
gonna probably go back to
when the
this.
rooster crows,
Yes.
roll over.
Thank you, Eric.
I called Rob 3
Good job.
times.
I gave this to, I gave this.
The Castro.
George.
He wants to go home.
Me too, I'm hungry.
Me too. I'm
Sandra Solly, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about the Clean Communities grant. It says grant, it says salaries and wages, and it says full-time personnel. I know one employee is supposed to have their salary paid by a grant. Does that $73,000 include the grant, or are we paying $73,000 for full-time personnel?
Any salaries for the Clean Communities function is fully supported by the grant. The township does not put up any of its funds for that position.
So we
It's
get
fully-
$73,000 in grant money?
last year, we actually got $133,000 in Clean Communities grant money.
Wow.
Every year, just because I don't want to overestimate how we're going to get, how much we're going to receive, because the final tally of how much they're going to pay us comes in around May. So what I do is I usually budget for a base amount, and then we just do a Chapter 159 budget amendment once we get the final payout from the Clean Communities grant. So we actually receive about $133,000.
All right, so how many employees are actually in Clean Communities? And is that DPW altogether, or a separate branch of people that work for Clean Communities?
They are part of the DPW staff, but their salaries are paid from the Clean Communities grant.
But we give them benefits, health benefits?
I believe so.
It doesn't come out of the grant?
It should.
We could definitely look into,
Because
we could definitely
originally,
look into that.
no, I'm just asking because originally I thought there was only one person that was included, and now I'm seeing a lot
Well,
more than 27,000.
The coordinator position is what falls under full-time personnel, and then you have the individuals who go out and then, I guess, go out with the bags and
Oh. Are you talking about the
and-
guy in the truck?
the cleaning apparatuses and actually do the pickups and whatnot.
All right, so you got here part-time personnel for 2017, but nothing in the years prior, so that's, where did it go? Oh, 31,000. So the last couple of years, there was no part-time personnel for Clean Communities?
No, it was, the salaries were just bunched up in the full-time,
Oh,
in the full-time line item,
Oh.
and I had actually separated it out this year.
okay. All right, now, Town Hall maintenance, Town Hall Administration Building. It doesn't have, it says salaries and wages, but it says 125,000, so who are we talking there? What personnel is that?
There are 2 employees that are part of the DPW department that 2 of their 2 employees' salaries come out of this department's cost center within the budget.
So that's like roughly $62,000 apiece?
It's 2 employees.
And that's full-time, and that benefits on top of that?
Benefits are budgeted in a separate line item.
All right,
than the
now,
insurance.
operating expenses, maintenance and supplies, so that's paper towels and toilet paper?
Yes, ma'am.
$40,000?
A lot of wiping going on.
Yeah, totally wasted paper, too. Very cheap. All right, the utilities is $210,000, so that's heat, electric, and gas?
Yes, ma'am.
So the individual units downstairs do not have their own electric meter?
No, but they pay common area maintenance. It's the rent that the tenants downstairs pay encompass, we have to budget for their rent on the revenue side, and we budget for the expenses
So
on the
gas,
budget appropriations.
gas heats this building, right? The utility,
Correct,
and then there's a water bill?
correct.
All right,
We-
now, the property taxes question.
Yes.
I was under the impression that a municipal building is tax-free, but for some reason, we're paying $90,000. Is that because the downstairs units are condos and not part of this building?
Well, the entire building is technically a condominium association, okay? So so because it has been set up that way, we're essentially paying ourselves. I mean, this cost is factored into their rent, and we have to pay the property taxes to ourselves. Because it's state
Condominium form of
statute.
ownership.
Yeah.
Condominium is just a form of ownership.
Because that's the law. That's why we.
No, no, I understand that,
Then
but I don't think a lot of,
why you'd ask if you understand.
I don't think a lot of people realize that that's how this building is divided. And that the part-time, the personnel comes out of the condo fees and not out of our DPW.
Every year, we have to file a report with the state as far as the revenues and expenses that this building has. We have to file it with a report with the state. So in order for us to be able to break down the expenses in as many manners that we can, in order for us to file that report to the state, this helps us do that.
Now, when you say a report to the state, what division of the state are you talking about?
You don't have to do this.
It's a report that is listed by the assessor's office, and it's an annual every,
Oh, the assessors?
exactly.
Okay. No, I'm just checking because I brought up the issue about the Kessler Institute and it sat empty for so many years. So theoretically, we
Is
had
that
to,
pool ready yet?
what?
Is that pool ready yet down there?
You may take a bath in it, I guess, with your little shorts and sandals. No, I'm just curious because to me, if that was a unit and we have to pay maintenance fees on it, then that means we had to pay for an empty building? And is the PAL going to be paying out of that $1,200, is that going to be the condo fee, the maintenance fee, or is there something else? Or do we get the $1,200? Nobody?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that for you. I did not, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just asking, because, I mean, I know there's a condo fee, but is it coming out
Ms.
of?
Sully, this is a public comment time. It's not a public questioning time. If you have questions, if you want to put them in writing to the staff, feel free to do so. But to continue to just rattle off questions that were unexpected, it's not appropriate.
It says right here, administration, why is it inappropriate?
You can make any comments you want, but to continue to ask the staff these questions that you're pulling out of your pocket is not appropriate.
Oh, really?
If you have questions, you can certainly put them in writing. We'll answer them.
Who's going to answer them?
If you forward them to my office, we'll make sure we get it to the right people.
All right, no, I'm just curious, because everybody that pays taxes in this town wants to know these things, not just me.
Any question that you've had,
Back there from Equestria, he's interested.
any question that you've posed to my office, I've answered, and if any of these questions that you have are financial and in nature, I will still be happy to answer them for you.
All right, so you're going to tell me about the maintenance, the condo fee for the empty unit, right? Do you have that somewhere up in your office?
I can find out that information for you and provide it to you.
Okay, thank you, bye.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wants to make a comment? Seeing no, I will say the meeting is adjourned. I make a motion, I request a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacasio?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, ma'am.